Am I on? Hi, everyone. Welcome to Beyond the Scale. I'd like to thank Dave, a big thank you to Dave for inviting the Friday night panel to On the Pen. We've been hosting this over on TikTok for maybe about 11 months now, since like March of 24. And it's an honor to bring that energy and dynamic to this platform. This has been such a healing experience for so many of us, and I'm thankful to continue that over here on this platform. So I'm Sabrina, and for years I've struggled with obesity, type 2 diabetes, and breast cancer. I'm down about 34% of my body weight, and with the help of Manjaro, lifestyle changes, and healing, in the last 19 months, I have found a community who is dedicated to healing. I strive for overall health and believe in connecting with others who are also looking to heal. So with that, I would like to bring in our guest, where we will discuss our health journeys, wins, challenges, and everything beyond the scale.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, happy Friday.
Happy Friday, everyone.
Hi.
Welcome. Thank you guys so much for being here. I am so excited to bring a little bit of the magic that we have created on TikTok to this platform. And I thank you guys for agreeing to be on the panel here.
Well, thank you for leading us, Sabrina. This has been so important over there, and I think that they're going to get so much good over here. So thank you for leading it. It's huge.
For sure. Those Friday night panels have definitely kept me going on some of those days where it's been kind of tough. So excited that we are on another platform now.
Yeah, me too. Me too. You guys have been instrumental in my GLP-1 journey, and I don't know where I would be without this community. So I genuinely appreciate you guys.
We appreciate you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
I don't know where I would be without you and these panels.
Thank you guys so much. So like normal, what we're going to do is we're just going to do our church announcements, which are, let's obviously be respectful of each other, allow each other to finish. Your thoughts before jumping in. I do feel strongly about this being a safe space for the community. And if you are if you have not already purchased Dave's book, What Are You Doing with Your Life? It is available on glpbook.com. So if you have not picked this up, please do so. And then I don't have anything else. Do you guys have anything you'd like to add before we do panel introductions? No? Okay. Corey, do you want to start off?
Oh, all right. Firing away. Okay. I'm Corey. I'm 50 years old with insulin resistance, reactive hypoglycemia, and obesity. I've been on compound tirzepatide for a few months and then Zepbound starting in September of 2023. I'm now down. I'm in maintenance. I'm down about 39% of my body weight. And I care very much about being kind of a support staff to those who are in their GLP-1 journey and then in maintenance. My NSV is quite simply not needing a bite of food every 10 minutes to satisfy the food noise and finally experiencing authentic hunger cues. That was the last 30 years of my life. So it's been just life-changing.
I love that.
Hello, my name is Erica, and I am 44. I have type 2 diabetes and a list of other chronic health conditions. I have struggled with obesity my entire life. I actually had weight loss surgery about almost 8 years ago, but I have experienced some regain over the last 5 or 6 years. I started MJ in late February 2024. And since then, I've lost about 60 pounds. So I started sharing my journey on TikTok, honestly, because I just wanted to be vulnerable in the same way that some of the creators that I learned so much from. And then also show representation for someone who might have had a setback, but they are making a comeback. So my biggest non-scale victory is that a few months ago, I finally had a normal A1C. And that is the first time since being diagnosed with diabetes about 15 years ago. That's the first time I've ever had a normal A1C. So I am more happy about that than I am about the weight loss. So super happy about that. And I'm glad to be here.
That's a win, baby.
Yes,
That is a win. Tatiana?
So, hi everyone. I'm Tatiana, but everyone calls me Tati, and please call me Tati because I love it. I'm 38 years old. I'm a mother of 2 girls, and I've been married for 14 years. I have used compound tirzepatide for 7 months, and I have lost 60 pounds. I just hit my goal weight, so hopefully Corey can guide the way into maintenance. I've struggled with endometriosis the majority of my adult life, and I had a total hysterectomy about 1.5 years ago. I've also struggled with insulin resistance. I am a registered nurse. I was trained in the ICU, and I've been that for about 10 years. I have a very big passion for education in this community, and it's just grown the longer I've had this platform. And I really focus on just educating the community about these meds, debunking the myths, and trying to reduce the stigma around using them. My biggest NSV, and I'm very open about it, has been my decrease in drinking alcohol. I used to drink very often, and I simply do not crave it anymore. It has been huge for me. It has been eye-opening, and I'm very excited for the future because of that.
I love that. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Spoonie.
Hey. Hey guys, I'm Megan. Everybody knows me as Spoonie Megumi. I am 36. I have struggled with obesity my entire life. I have always been the fat kid in class. I struggled with autoimmune disorders. I have rheumatoid arthritis, Sjogren's syndrome, POTS, hidradenitis suppurativa. As of now, I'm in remission for Hodgkin's lymphoma, which was brought on by my chronic inflammation due to my chronic obesity. It got to a point where my oncologist said, lose the weight, bring your inflammation levels down, or your cancer's coming back. So I went to my endocrinologist and started Zepbound in May-ish, April. My A1C at the time was 6.3, so pre-diabetic. My ESR, which is inflammation level, was 49. My CRP was 38. The normal ranges are, of course, I didn't write that down, way lower than that.
Yeah.
My high weight was 270. My current weight now is 166. 48% of my body weight
Look
gone.
at you go, Mama. That's awesome.
I fit into a small. I've never been a small in my life.
I love it.
So my biggest non-scale victory is my A1C. As of yesterday, I got blood work done yesterday, 4.4. My ESR was 21, so more than half. And my CRP went down from 38 to 18.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And I feel it. I can move again. I can walk from room to room without feeling like I'm dying. Ever since I started my journey, I kept it to myself. I loved watching behind the scenes. I found On the Pen, Allie, and a few other creators, because my endocrinologist gave me no information about this journey, what to do. I didn't even know it was an injectable until I went to pick it up. Thanks, doc. A few months ago, I switched to the Row Body program, which I highly recommend. We love Row. Ever since then, I work for a very large accounting firm. And a lot of my employees, coworkers have seen me go down in size. So they've been asking questions. And now I can't even count how many people have started a GLP-1 because of my, that they saw my weight loss.
Your success. Yeah.
My success. I became very open about it. I started posting on TikTok just recently. I still don't know how to TikTok. I'm going to learn.
That's how I feel about YouTube. I mean, because we're all TikTok refugees, right? I don't know a thing about YouTube yet.
So you got to teach me the TikTok. I'll teach you the YouTube.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm Mike. I am the old person on the panel at 51. I am from Boston. I've been overweight my entire life. I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes last March, and I consider it a godsend because at the time I had reached the end of my rope and really had given up quality of life. And so that box of Manjaro changed my life. I am down 22% of my body weight at this point over 10 months. I started TikTok as a way to keep myself accountable. And along the way, I've developed a passion for advocacy for GLP-1 medications and for obesity. So in my NSV last week, I started fitting into some 2XLs for the very first time. So I haven't been in a 2XL since I was in my late 20s. So
Look at you go.
Let's go, Mike.
Hi, I'm Brian. I'm 44 years old. Mike can only say he knows he's the oldest person on the panel because he already knows how old I am. So you didn't have to wait till I went. I have been on my GLP-1 journey since May 3rd of this year, or last year. I guess it's 2025 now. May 3rd of 2024. I have battled with my weight my entire adult, teen, and preteen life. I remember the first time realizing that I had a weight issue when I was in school and someone referred to me as the fat kid. And I was like, oh, am I the fat kid? Didn't realize that. But it wasn't until I, in the last 4 years, started to have health issues. As soon as I turned 40, I started to have really significant health issues associated with it. And it started with high blood pressure that was really challenging to treat. And over the past 4 years turned into resistant hypertension, meaning drug-resistant hypertension, meaning they couldn't treat it with anything that was commercially available in any combination that seemed to work. And they had changed my medication a bunch of times. And by the time I started on the GLP-1 medication, I was on 4 different blood pressure medications. In addition to a diagnosis for prediabetes that was pretty high level, and my doctor warned me I was probably a few more A1C tests away from a type 2 diagnosis. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, severe obstructive sleep apnea, the list goes on and on of things that all of a sudden went wrong from 2020 to 2024. And so my doctors finally said, hey, we need to try something different than this blood pressure medication. You should consider one of these GLP-1 medications. And that's when I started on Zepbound. And then later, also because of shortages that apparently don't really exist, but do exist, I also at times have to use compound tirzepatide as well. So I have experience with both. The exciting thing is, in addition to weight, I'm down 26% of my weight in those 39 weeks, I guess it is now. Starting week 39. My blood pressure is now normal. And I'd say that's my biggest NSV. I mean, I have some exciting, more fun ones, like being able to fit into medium shirts for the first time since I was in my late 20s, and being able to wear a coat that I sadly held on to and never thought I would wear again, that I bought when I was 23, that I'm now wearing this winter. But really, honestly, at the end of the day, the health improvements have been the biggest NSV for me, and the blood pressure being the big one, because I went from being on 4 medications to being on 1. And in the middle of February, I'll have a follow-up visit to find out whether or not I should go off that medication if my blood pressure remains where it is, not needing to be treated anymore. So that's really been the most exciting NSV for me, is I'm hoping to be other than the tirzepatide, medication-free. I'm also looking forward to throwing the CPAP in the garbage, but we're not quite there yet.
That's amazing. I mean, all of these wins are just, they're incredible. This medication for me, I know, has changed my life. For those of you who are just coming in and missed the beginning, my name is Sabrina, and I've been on a GLP-1 for 19 months now. I've been on Mounjaro. I received a diagnosis of type 2 diabetes in, I think it was like April of 2023. And of course, struggled to get access through insurance. But once we got that all cleared up, I made like a huge overhaul on my life, and changed just lifestyle changes, and started to teach myself about nutrition. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you, I didn't really know much about nutrition. I've always been a gym girly, love lifting, and I love lifting heavy. But I took that time it was a wake-up call. It was a wake-up call for me. So I started learning about nutrition and just complete overhaul, and protein's my best friend. Never knew how much protein and fiber women or people need. Because I never focused on that before. And so I'd have to say my biggest NSV throughout this entire journey has been, prior to starting a GLP-1, I was in incredible amount of pain. And I mean, my pain level was unmanageable. It's from like a scale from 1 to 10, I was operating at like 8 or 9 every single day. It hurt to stand, it hurt to sit, it hurt to lay, it hurt to exist. And that's no longer a thing. I am virtually pain-free now. So that is my biggest NSV, because it's changed my life. It's changed my husband and my kids' life, because I'm a lot nicer now that I'm not in so much pain. I mean, you guys know when it's hard. It's physically taxing on your body, and I feel like I have a whole new lease on life. So I am excited. But I think everyone's had incredible success, and it's not. For me, this journey is not just about the scale. And I know that I'm not saying that the scale is bad. It's not. It's just one tool to measure your success. As we've all just kind of went over, there's been so many other factors that come into play and it's a win, doesn't necessarily need to just be the scale. Okay, so does anybody have anything to add before we get into the questions?
Yeah, water check.
Oh,
thank you.
Water check.
I see all the questions and comments in the chat too. And for people, I think, who are just seeing this for the first time, we're going to get there. We're going to be more interactive, because I see everybody talking in the chat.
Yeah, this is very different for all of us, having to look to the right and kind of see, and it's a little bit bigger, not dense, not underneath.
It's very different. We've only done this on TikTok, and it's usually like we just have to like glance down. So we're working through our little kinks and our little,
I like it though. I like this. I can see the comments. They're really big. I'm kind of old. I don't want to be.
We'll get through it. Yeah. Okay. So let's get started with, you guys ready for the first question, or did anyone have anything to add?
Let's get it.
Okay. So the first question comes from, do you want me to say who it comes from or just read it? Do you guys care? It comes from Erica.
I gotta say who it comes from.
All right.
Okay, so if every social media platform that we currently use to share and find community on this GLP-1 journey somehow went away in an instant, what lesson would you take with you to help sustain you on this path to better health?
Oh, coming in with the depth.
I know. I was like, Erica coming
I
through.
like it.
I thought about that one too.
I think it would be the need to heal my inner child in a way, the person I was before I was on the medication. I think more than anything, what I've learned over the last 10 months is that I had to forgive myself because I really blamed myself. I thought this was my fault completely, that I was all sort of my moral failing and not a disease. And that's made up of genetics, that's made up of, metabolic issues, that's made up of all sorts of things. And the complexity of that is what I carry out of this. If all the social media went away tomorrow, what I learned from the whole community has been that I needed to forgive myself.
Mm-hmm.
That's powerful. And I agree with that, because prior to starting this GLP-1, for me, it was a moral failing. For me, I was riddled with guilt. I mean, so much so that it was a lot. It was intense. And it took this community and the Friday night panels and all the connections that we've done, and watching a video, and Jay, we all know Jay's wisdom, and and how we have to heal. We have to heal, and we have to forgive ourselves and move forward. And it's this community really has taught me so much.
Well, I'll answer my own question. It's funny because I thought about the question, but I didn't think about an answer. Honestly, of course. But I would say one of the things that if everything went away, I would say two things. One, not to downplay the things that the successes that I've had in any form, whether it be a 9-scale victory, or sometimes we're like, oh, I only, you use that curse word only. I've only lost 3 pounds or something like that. I would definitely make sure that I celebrate every stage of the success. But another thing I would say is that the time is going to pass anyway. And a lot of times we think about, like, I'm so far from goal. I'm so far from, where I want to be. But just keep pushing, because the time is going to pass anyway. So you can either be in a better situation than you are now, or you could be right where you are, or even worse. So the time is going to pass anyway. So what are you going to do about it? So.
I very firmly agree with that. And people in our community, and for those of you who don't know me, and this is your first impression, mind you, this is my first impression of you. I am very much the pusher, maybe I would say. I push people a lot within the community, and when people will say, "Oh, I'm going to quit," and then my answer in response to you is, "And then what?"
Right.
And then what? Because prior to, I was struggling. I mean, I was struggling, baby. I was struggling. So I would rather continue to do this than go back to struggle. Because, like you said, time is going to go by anyway. Why not work towards your goals? I'm done giving up on myself. I'm done. I did that for way too many years. Way too many years.
I don't think you're the pusher. I think you're more the enforcer. You're like the law. Like when people want to say, hey, I'm not going to do this, we all say in private, don't let Sabrina find out.
Because then she gets in the camera like this.
Yeah. You know, Sabrina's going to tell you, no, you have to do it. It's like when I didn't want to opt into the arm challenge. She said,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or when Tay said, do I have to do it?
Yeah.
Yes. So
Yes,
you're the enforcer. You're like, Mama.
I came so close. I came so close to packing a scale for the trip I went on for 2 weeks, and I just kept hearing Sabrina yelling at me. I used that video to say that I wasn't taking it so that Sabrina would hear that.
See?
So Sabrina's the voices in our head, basically, is what we're saying. But that is kind of leading to my answer to Erica's question, though, because for me, the biggest thing I would take away if all of the social media went away is the people make you stronger. And so find the community, even if there isn't a technological platform for the community, find the community and connect with people outside of what we now know are the very delicate walls of some of these social media platforms that might not hold, because I have learned so much from everybody else. There was an earlier point, and I think maybe Corey, you made it about somebody made it about nobody told me how to do this. It was just sort of, there you go. Actually, everybody's made that point at one point or the other. We learned it from each other. The doctors pat us on the back and say, onward. And I think it's so much more than just the mechanics of being successful. But it's also about, to Mike's point, about sort of the reflection about, forgiving ourselves for things that we blamed ourselves for. We see ourselves reflected in each other, and it's much harder to be successful on the journey if you're only looking at yourself in the mirror, because we all know we've had those negative voices, those discouraging words that we've said to ourselves in the past. And it's having, the voices in our head, like Sabrina, tell us, stop that. Or you can do it. Yep. That kind of drive us all forward. So without the platforms, I feel that the community is still something that I really need. And I have found myself feverishly finding other ways to connect with the people who have had the strongest influence on me. Because I feel like that's, regardless of social media, that is something that I've taken away from all of this. It's just been the mechanism for it. But the people are what has made this so successful for a lot of us. And I'll just wrap that thought up by saying I've talked to people who've been on this journey longer than a lot of us have, who feel very isolated, who feel very alone, and also who have given up and quit because they didn't have anybody encouraging them through the difficult parts of it, whether that's the side effect parts of it that are difficult without getting good advice on how to manage, or it's the emotional side of it that people don't have support for, or they have family members that aren't supportive or friends that aren't supportive, and they give up on it. And so I've, in contrast, seen how important the community is. And that's the big thing that I would want to take, regardless of the mechanism for connecting.
Yeah, I totally agree with every bit of that and what everybody's been saying. Community has been so big. When I was on Wegovy in 2021 and I lasted 3 months. There was no community. There was like an app where they had people on, but all they were doing was complaining about how they weren't able to get it in time and the problems with the app and whatever. And the side effects were so awful for me, and I didn't know how to handle it. I mean, I quit, and I was terrified to try tirzepatide, and only because of getting on TikTok. And Dave was the first person I ever saw talking about it, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's real information, and I feel like I can do this privately, but maybe with people. But if it were gone, if everything were totally gone, I would take with me first the memories, and then I would want to be active in trying to help other people know that they're not alone, because I think you feel very insulated in obesity. And you're just like, I'm the only one really who is this terrible and this much of a failure. And I remember a few months into taking the medication, I was talking to a girlfriend, and she came over, and she saw the difference in me already. And she was tearing up and saying how miserable she was. I was like, I know, I was miserable. I totally understand. And that conversation changed me, because it was my light bulb moment of, I'm not the only one, and I can help people now. So I would want to continue to help people, not to feel alone, and to be able to go in their journey. I would find a way. I don't know. I'd find a way. So, but then you just go to friends and family and you help like that. But community has been enormous. I mean, so many of us have gone to in-person meetups. I mean, who would ever do that with strangers online? It's crazy.
Don't talk to strangers online.
I'm doing this on my own. So, but it was just so fulfilling, because these are people you honestly share so many private moments with, and stories of your life, and things that you've gone through because of this, and things that you're healing. And it is such a beautiful journey if you allow it to be, and know that there's a community there for you.
I agree. That whole going to a meetup, my family was like, what do you mean you're going to Atlanta to meet strangers? I'm like, they're not strangers.
Right.
They're my friends.
Yeah, my husband's like, I'm going with you.
Yeah.
Good man.
This time when we were talking about it, I mentioned it. He's like, "Oh, okay." Like, well, I know them now.
Yeah, right. I think I may have even given him a hug when I met him. Like, hi, I'm Sabrina.
I think I'm going to go off of that, what Brian and Corey said, which I was going to say community, but we know that if all this disappeared, and we got a taste of it, when TikTok was going away last week, I was ugly crying on TikTok, guys. You could see it all over.
Yeah.
But I think that's one thing I would take with me aside from that would be the single fact that I learned that I'm capable of doing this, and sharing it just helps that many more people. And that specific aspect is something TikTok taught me, because while I'm not shy and, I can speak to strangers online, when I did my first live on TikTok, I was like a fish out of water. And I've learned that, and I've developed that. And with that came learning, wow, the more you talk about it and the more you share, and let's be honest, the deeper and the raw, that's not even a word, the rawer things that you share, people connect with the most. So it's like all encompassing. Like, the more you share, the more you realize there's so many others like you, and the more your community grows. Because I did not know that there was that many people struggling with the guilt, the shame, the thoughts of, why me? What is this? Why do I try everything? I'm scared of this. What is this going to do? Am I going to be sick all day? Like, all those things. So I would take with me the fact that you're not alone out there, and speak up, basically, because the more you speak up, the more someone who is maybe scared to speak up is going to learn about it.
I agree with that. That's why I started to share, because I sat back and watched and learned, in the beginning of my journey. And then I realized how much they were helping me, right? And then I thought to myself, perhaps maybe my story may help someone else. And that's when I started, sharing, and became so engrossed in this community,
Yeah, it was one of your lives, Sabrina, last March, because it was right before I went away for my 25th anniversary, and you had me up there, and I was like, I've learned so much, and I want to help and everything, but I'm not really great at being a creator. I'm just like, hello, ... just like, I was so stiff. and didn't know how to do anything. And I was like, I just figure you guys are great. I'll just leave it up to you all. And you're like, everyone was like, no, we all need help. We need to and that's when I really understood, okay, you really do want other people being in on this and helping, because it can't just be a few people. And that's when you start feeling way more connected to the community when you get involved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I agree with that. So, and Tay said something to me that really resonated with me. I'm like, there's enough people out there talking about it now. Like, I don't feel like I need to go live as often. And she said, it's not about, there could be a million people, but you're going to say something that's going to resonate with one single person. They needed to hear it the way you said it.
Right.
And for me, that was the light bulb. That was the light bulb. Because, I mean, let's be honest, you guys. And I don't know if it's just my algorithm, because I'm so engrossed in this life that my entire feed on any platform is only GLP-1. So I'm like, I'm not needed in this space anymore. And Tay was like, you absolutely are. So
well, it's how you say this. And another tidbit, you brought me into this community, and you know this. I always tell you, you were that first person I saw, and although there were 4 other women there with you, I just zoomed in on you, and I just saw a part of me there. So you are living proof that you can pull someone without even knowing, just by sharing your story that has meant a lot to you, that has, been life-changing, but the way you say it is like no one else.
Right. Because I think that all of us bring a perspective just based off of our lived experiences that can resonate with someone. So, different experiences. So when Sabrina speaks about, her battle with certain things, it clicks for someone. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I found is that I felt more, because it's almost like we sit and wait for an invitation to be into the community, but it's not, you're there. You just have to put yourself out there, and you're not going to get help. You're not going to get help unless you put yourself out there. People know that you're struggling, and then all of a sudden when you say something, people's like, oh gosh, I feel like that too. Me, same. And then it's just like, oh, okay, yeah.
It's one part group. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say it's one part group therapy and one part GLP-1 school. Because I feel like, and I'm someone who, I work in education. And so while I'm not formally a teacher, I consider myself an educator. And I think part of the reason I was drawn to the community is, regardless of what everybody does as a profession, content creators are educators. Mm-hmm. And you can find the people who truly are educators versus people who really like to talk to themselves in a reflection. And there's a couple of different types of creators out there. No shade, just saying.
Ryan, what are you saying to me?
Nothing like, you're also an educator. Only love. But what I'm saying is, there is this vibe of folks who are all kind of end out in it for the same reason, because there was a spark of learning, to the point of seeing yourself reflected back in somebody else, or learning something new that helped you, that if you have that spark of the educator in you, it makes you want to give it back. And I think that's what a lot of folks are doing in the GLP-1 community, is they get that spark lit in them and the fire starts. And it becomes less about talking to their own reflection or hearing their own voice. And it becomes more about, I learned, and now I know, and I have this secret, and I want to share it so somebody else can feel that light of knowledge and relief and recognition, and seeing yourself reflected back in somebody else, and then paying that forward. And I think that's what's been so gratifying about being involved in a community around this, is that it has been about learning from each other. And that's where the group therapy piece comes in too, because that's why that's an effective methodology of talk therapy, is because it creates safety when everybody is vulnerable about the less pretty things that they're experiencing. And that's really where you see the difference between the folks who are in it for the skinny and the folks who are in it for the health. And it's the health where Sabrina's pointing and the health everywhere else. And I think that's why you see certain types of folks gravitate towards each other in the community, because they really are healing each other and teaching each other. And there's value in that. And I think we all see it and we do value it.
You know, Brian, I think part of that healing, interestingly enough, is the fact that oftentimes we can't internalize the things that we're telling other people as we educate. But the more I say it to somebody else, the more I believe it myself. Does that make sense? Like telling someone else that they can't say, I only, is the way that I learned that I couldn't say it either. Right? Little things like that. It's part of being out there and being a creator is just helping other people, but helping yourself.
Yeah.
We've all had also that family member that once you started, or like someone in your circle that once you started sharing was like, oh, wait, but help me. How do I start?
Yeah.
And that also for me was full circle, because at first I was very like not saying anything and just, you know, but after a while when I just let the floodgates open and I was like, I don't care. I just want to help people. So I don't care anymore. The shame is gone. Like after I did all that work and, you know, now I'm in this place where I am today that I'm just like proud and I speak freely on all my platforms. I have had easily in the last 2 weeks, so many people in my circle say, hey, by the way, can you help me? Because now you paved the way and you showed them, oh, wait, there's someone I know and there's no stigma. So let me take a look at this.
So just to play off of what Brian was saying and what you're saying. So what I would do if taking away is what I've learned is that I feel like it's almost like a calling, right? To help people, because getting on the internet and opening yourself, being vulnerable and talking about things that open wounds, like open raw wounds. We're like exposing the most vulnerable parts of us. That's not easy. That's not easy. But I do it with the intent to try and help and connect shared experiences. So I know for me, it's almost like it feels like a calling. And should I lose this, I know I will have to find a way to continue to help people. And, you know, because this community, these panels, all of you guys, that you healed a part of me that I didn't, it was broken, you know, and I didn't know that it was. And so when that part of me healed, I went on to Facebook, because the people on my Facebook, they have seen me go up and down, up and down. I'm on a new health journey. I'm going to do it this time. I'm going to keep it off this time. And they've seen that, I don't know, maybe like 7 different times. And this is what they've seen me do. So I was very hesitant to start sharing this journey over there, because they were like, this girl again, you know,
Again.
you know, so I was nervous to start sharing over there. And then the community here healed me. So when that part of me was healed, I went onto Facebook. I was like, hi guys, GLP-1s. And now I won't stop talking about it, you know? And I mean, if you feel comfortable sharing, do, and if you don't. But for me, people are like, that's enough. And I'm like, no, they're amazing. They're tired of me.
It's nice as this community doesn't get tired of each other.
Yes.
It's so crazy. And it's so crazy that we're all like we've all become friends. You know, I would say like a good 100 of us just see each other all the time. And we just are constantly in like this contact. And like, I think I see Brian on these panels and I feel like I see Brian more than I see people I know in person.
Well, I look forward to Spoonie. Like anytime Dave is, because whenever Dave goes live, like my eyes go look for Spoonie. Every single time. If I'm in Discord, I'm looking for Spoonie, like anytime. So like, because the OTP community is it's different. I mean, wouldn't you say it's different, Spoonie, than the TikTok community? Like, I feel like it's
more personal.
very, there's like a core group of like, it's just different. It's different.
Honestly, without this community, I wouldn't have been able to do this. I had everybody against me. My father, first words out of his mouth are, "Oh, you're lazy. You're gonna have Ozempic butt, Ozempic face." My husband wasn't really on board with it either. Now he is, but it actually got to the point where I had to sit him down and be like, "Listen, I want to unalive myself. I need to do this for me." And I felt so guilty. Like I guilt tripped him into it, and then hearing everybody's stories and just being in this community, I know it's not my fault, that I can do this, and I don't need anybody's permission and approval. This is me. This is all about me, not them.
Yeah. Spoonie, I just love that you said that, because one of my friends here is in the chat, and I literally 20 minutes before this call, she was saying that she did not have family support. And I was about to get on the tech run, basically, and I didn't have time to like really converse with her via chat or via text. And I'm like, I'm going to do it after the panel. So I hope that you are listening, friend, to what Spoonie just said.
Come be one of us.
Yeah.
We love you.
Join us.
We sound like a cult now.
One of us.
Cult vibes, Sabrina.
It's interesting.
Dear leader,
Tony, about the family support, because for me, I didn't even tell my husband for 2 months that I was on Compound, because this is before Zepbound came out. And I've talked to a lot of people who have experienced the same, because we were like, I don't want to tell him or my spouse, my significant other, that I'm starting yet another program that's going to cost a lot of money, that I'm going to fail in the next few months. So I just did it. And I was like sick as a dog in the beginning, because I still didn't know what I was doing and whatever. And I was just like, I'm doing great. I'm just like falling asleep over here. Blood sugars are dropping, you know, but very quickly, I felt such confidence in like, this is going to change the rest of my life. This medication is going to change the rest of my life. I'm never going to suffer again. And I just told him, I was like, oh, by the way, our insurance covers this, I found out, and this is coming out like in 2 weeks. I've been taking a compound version for a little while, and I'm getting on this.
What did he say?
Period.
He was just like, oh, okay. He would have been supportive is the thing. I just did not have faith in myself anymore. And I just felt like the eternal failure. You know, I mean, he's a 5-time Ironman. Yeah. He exercises all the time. I mean, he's amazing. He's amazing. But, and I mean, Sabrina knows her husband is a complete workout phenom. So we've talked a lot about this and how that feels to us. You know, you're just like, I'm the fat one that he's married to, you know, I'm always going up and down. I don't quite fit in anywhere. And I bet he's ashamed, and he was never ashamed of me. And he can't, when we show him pictures now, we've looked at it. He's like, I can't believe that was you. He was like, I still thought you were just so hot. I mean, whatever. Like he's so wonderful like that. So it was in here.
Yeah.
Getting over that and just pushing forward. I mean, I'm just glad that the medication, you know, is available with either brand name or currently Compound, where people can just be open about it and not feel like they have to hide at first anyway. When I was doing Compound, like that was not even a thing with brand, you know, that was scary. So
Ori, I didn't know that about you and your husband or Erica, and I'm in the same boat. Look, again, you share something and I'm like, oh, me too. In the same
really
boat. Yeah. My husband's been fit his whole life. He's very fortunate. He works out, he eats right, and anything he needs to drop, he'll drop it like this. Or if he needs to tone,
don't you hate that?
I'm like, what is
well, their bodies just work correctly is all.
Right. And I thought the whole time, I'm like,
this is level playing field, like we always say.
I was always like, I'm the ugly one. Oh, he's just married to the fat one. Great. Like it was always me. And now he looks back and he's like, what? Like, no, he's like, I always wanted you to be healthy. I didn't really care about the rest. He's like, so he would often tell me,
you were a whole smoke show, girl.
Yeah, this is for real. Like verbatim, those words have come out of Lou's mouth because I show him pictures. He's like, baby, I don't remember you looking like that, you know? And I'm like, I'm sure. And he's like, no, I was worried about your health. Like, but I've never loved you less. I've never looked at you different. I worry about your health, but it's not that. Yeah. So, I mean, he's like your guys is like,
and I would get mad at him. And I'm like, you just calling me fat and you don't love me. And he's like, no, I just don't want you to be diabetic.
He's like, we got in a fight over, I pulled up old photos and I was like, I'm using this as before and after. He said, why are you picking out the worst photos? And then he went through his phone and he was like, oh, I never saw you that way, which is kind of crazy to hear that from other folks.
Yeah. I didn't see myself that way either. Did all of you? Because I looked at a picture, like until I saw a picture of myself, I looked in the mirror and I was like, I'm still cute. You know, like I didn't fully see it.
Oh, and when I go back and look at old pictures, I was like, dang, I was chunky. Like, you know.
No, I saw it. I saw it every day. I would destroy myself every single time I walked past the mirror, every single time. And it was vicious. It was vicious. It took so long to change and shift that. It took a long time with the help of the community.
That healing that we spoke of.
Yeah.
For me, it's
when they tell you, oh, you're cheating or you're this or you took the easy way out or you're doing that. People don't realize we've said all that to ourselves and worse. So you're not hurting me when you say, oh, you took the easy way out. You're cheating. What did you do?
But you have to get to that point, though, because I think that we all maybe felt that way, a little bit of it when we initially started. You know, I thought about that even when it comes to like my Instagram, because I have a personal Instagram. And then when I started everything else, I put it over here because I didn't want anybody to see, you know, what I was doing over there because I was up and down, like Sabrina said, this, that, whatever. And now I've healed that part of it and I don't have the shame that I once had. And I'm like, dang it, why do I have to? I wish I could merge them because so what, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like the shame comes from the repeated struggle.
Yep.
The more I've been thinking about it is the more you perceive yourself as failing at something, the less comfortable you are setting yourself up to be observed as a failure yet again. Right. And that's what's been really interesting about the GLP-1 journey has been, I think we all get to a point where we're like, for a lot of us, I mean, obviously not everybody, but for a lot of us, we get to a point where we're like, oh no, it's just working. And that's what gets frustrating when people assert that the struggle is what's legitimate and that it's cheating. Because I think that's what frustrates all of us the most is when someone says, no, the point is the pain. Point is the failure. The point is the struggle. And when we all know, no. That's the point is the folks who don't fail have different bodies, different minds, different metabolisms, different genetics, different experiences. And I think for those of us who realize when we finally get access to this tool that actually works, and for the majority of us who are sharing about it, hasn't failed. We suddenly feel this sense of peace around sharing because that's when you know you've set aside that fear of failure. And that's when you know you feel finally like you've discovered something that you're not going to quote unquote embarrass yourself over. Right. And then suddenly it's like you want to, you know, evangelize it because you want people to know the struggle is real and it's BS and you don't have to do it. And I think that that's for me has been the big thing is when you realize that a lot of that shame was tied to just a lack of information, right? And a lack of a tool that would work for you. And that's what sparked me to start sharing about it was when I started to feel like I was seeing that people were successful and they weren't struggling. And it convinced me that I would probably have the same outcome. And suddenly it felt like this is okay because I don't think I'm going to be setting myself up to embarrass myself yet again.
Love that.
Yep. Okay. My screen kind of went out. Did it for you guys as well?
Yeah,
but
you're
you're
on.
back.
Yeah, it
Okay.
looks a little blurry, but it's better now.
Okay. Yeah, I completely agree with that, Brian. It's the whole, I don't know why people feel the struggle is what makes it worth it or what makes you, like, we haven't struggled our entire lives. Like, we haven't struggled through this whole journey. I mean, are you kidding me? That's absurd. That's absurd. So
Sabrina, Jay put it very well in the chat. Jay said, they act like we need the failure and the struggle to build character. It's like being ostracized for larger bodies didn't build character.
It's like the 6'4" person talking down to the 5'2" person because they can't reach the cup on the top shelf. That's really what it is. It's, why are you trying to kick my step stool out from under me? You don't need it.
Right.
You can just reach the cup.
Right.
But I still need the dang cup. So
that's a good analogy. That is a good analogy
Yes.
to compare the two.
And I think it's part of the reason why is because although we have worked through shame, they still see it. Some of them still see it as a character flaw or a moral failing. And that's why it's almost like, you know, they want to put you back in your place because, you know, because you're damned if you do and damned if you don't at that point.
And I've said this 100 times, like, they're mad at us when we're fat, and then they're mad at us when we're not trying to, like, lose weight. Not like that.
Right. And then when you do lose weight and you know, forbid, you know, want to take a picture, more pictures, and they're just like, oh, now you think you're all that. You know?
Right. Oh, she knew.
They're just mad we're coming for their skinny privilege because they think that they eat lots of vegetables and exercise, and that's why they're skinny, not realizing that we all have too. But we aren't, right? Like, they're mad because we're coming for their privilege.
Yeah.
I mean, I can literally eat a McDonald's. I've said this before, a McDonald's cheeseburger. I can eat a cheeseburger now and it will do nothing to me. Whereas before I would gain 3 pounds, not because it was worth 3 literal pounds, but because it would metabolize differently in my body. And over the course of the next 2 days, I would be up 3 pounds. And then that would just trigger something else and my body would just work for it. I had to stay away from all of that.
Yeah.
And I really ate pretty well, but I ate just diet foods for decades, like all of you, I'm sure. And it was just so unfulfilling. I mean, I eat like such beautiful foods now and they're fattening, you know, they're like whatever food, it's just normal foods along with fruits, along with vegetables. But if I want to eat something, I can eat it and it does nothing to me because my body works how theirs does, you know? It's been so much easier to not have to live that way. I mean, like, you're like, this is how you've lived your entire life. That's crazy. To be born like that.
I know. Could you imagine? I can't even imagine. One of my first things that I ever saw from Dave, Dave was one of the first creators that I ran into on my journey. That's why I feel the way that I do about Dave. But so one of the things that he said had such a profound impact on me, where he said, for the first time in my life, he's like, I got to feel the way normal people do. Normal people hunger, normal people food, normal people, like, all of it was like, this is what they've been feeling. It was for the first time in our lives, we got to feel what normal people felt like.
Like when that food noise goes away and you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm so productive.
Like
I'm not planning out all of my meals.
Yeah. Well, with that, I believe we have a question that ties in really, really well with that. Hold on one second.
Water break. Water.
Yeah, water check while I find it. So now that you have found a truly effective tool to use to improve your health, including your weight struggles, Do you find that you have newfound bandwidth to work on improving other aspects of your life that you previously did not have the capacity to attend to? And it was from Brian.
That is a good question.
I know.
It's a great segue too.
You guys went all out.
Answer is
Don't read my question. My question's boring.
Shut up. So I got Brian. When I read that, I was like, because for me it was all consuming. The food. And we've all heard and seen those videos where it's like the different voices. Food. What are you going to do for lunch? Are you going to have food for this? So when that shut off like a light switch, I was like, what the hell just happened? So then naturally it just, everything in my life became clearer. And I picked up I used to read. And I'm not saying that I didn't read before, but like when it got quiet in there, I was like, what do I want to do? And I started reading again, and so for me, yes, it was very distinct. Some people don't notice it. Some people do. For me, it was like a light switch. And like I started like doing better at work and focusing because I had more confidence in myself. It just like snowballed for me.
You going first, Brian?
It's my question. I should answer it last.
I went first. You not go first in my question.
You did. You threw yourself on that sword, though.
I first. Well, I will say yes. So initially, I did not know. I'm like, well, what is food noise? And it took a couple weeks because I'm like, oh, what is it? When is it gonna kick in? Like, but when it kicked in, I'm like, and it wasn't even that I noticed it immediately. It was just like, oh, I got a lot done today. Oh, I feel like I was like sharp and just, whatever. I've gotten, increase at work. I've been so productive. I've been, like expanding out and working with my global partners and coming up with these plans. I plotted out like all of the meetings for the rest of the year and all of the themes and who I'm bringing in like I've been so productive. And I'm just like, that's what it feels like when you're not planning lunch, breakfast, dinner, snacks. Am I hungry? Am I full? What's for dinner? Like it really is excessive and you don't realize it until you're not thinking like that and it gets quiet. And you're just like, oh, this is how normal. It's not normal to go to a baby shower and be obsessing about whether or not there's going to be cake left. Like,
or getting to a place and saying, is the pastries going to be out? Are there going to be appetizers? Is there going to be food? I'm not waiting to stop.
So yeah, I definitely think that there's space for creativity and productivity. And I have this urge to want to get the rest of my life in order. I've been purging and organizing in my home, and I have the stamina to do that and not feel like, okay, I have to sit down so many times, It's just, it's different, and like I said, I don't care if I didn't lose another pound. I feel so much better.
100%.
For me, I would say I say yes to so many things now. My husband wants to go do something with friends or this, or somebody invites me. I say yes. I'm like, I don't care what it is. I'm there. I'm your party girl. Not really, but I'm there. I am present. I will totally do it. Before I would just be too ashamed to show up and I would make up an excuse. I don't care what it was. Like, I so rarely went to anything. And I remember telling my husband about it's been over a year with this now. So probably 3 years ago now, I was like, I'm just lonely. Like I'm lonely, not with you. And I'm so fulfilled as a mother. And I'm so fulfilled as just like things that I do myself, but I'm just lonely because I knew it's because I said no to everything. Like people would invite me, but I would be like, I'm not going to fit in there. They're not going to want to have me as like that friend of mine, whatever. And now I just say yes to everything. Like I don't go on roller coasters. I'm terrified. And so we went to Universal last month of my whole family. And we didn't go on the upside down one. I don't want to do that. But there's this like fast Harry Potter one. It's like a bike or something. And they were like, come on, you'll love it. You'll do it. Just do it. Just do it. You know, whatever. Because I love speed. And I was like, all right, let's do it right now. Let's do it right now. And I mean, I totally went on it. I would have said no before. So just like little things like that. I'm just saying yes to everything. And it's not in a crazy way. Like I'm not like really going compulsive with anything. I'm just open to whatever comes my way.
You're showing up, Corey. Yeah,
absolutely.
you're showing up for yourself. That's
Absolutely.
amazing.
And it just feels like I'm really living life in that one aspect, like I'm living it now. I mean, I have a wonderful life. I've lived my life. I'm so thankful. But that one aspect that was about just internally me, I was just like, I'm just going to eventually my life will be over and I will not have like enjoyed these aspects to it because I've been too afraid to do much. And so now I'm showing up for myself. It's just been really wonderful.
I love that.
That's awesome.
Does anyone else?
Is definitely one thing I avoided was clothes shopping. And I think now that I don't focus on the food, I've had really space to embrace like my newfound body. And I didn't before at all. Like I would hide it at all costs. I would, and you know this, Sabrina, I would wear clothes too big for me. I didn't even want to buy new jeans. I was still wearing, you know, my XL shirts. So I think now that I'm not thinking, okay, what am I going to have for lunch? What am I have for dinner? Like I need to prep my salad. Like when I was still in the diet culture mentality, I have time to say, like today I told myself, hey, what am I going to do? I want to go tomorrow to the store. I want to go to the mall. I want to buy stuff. And I would never, ever buy myself. Like it was leggings and shirts and that's it. Nothing else. I don't care. So I have space to like treat myself to things because I don't think that I don't deserve it anymore.
Well, I hollered at her. I mean, y'all saw it. I think it was a live or something. I was like, Tati, you are not that size anymore. Go shopping. Get rid of those clothes.
It wasn't alive.
It was alive.
I think Brian was there. It wasn't alive. And I said I was still wearing it because I didn't feel like I was allowed to wear smaller clothes.
And then you cleaned out your closet, right?
And then I dumped out my entire closet, which now has like 3 shirts hanging in.
I'm proud of you, though. I'm proud of you.
But it's okay. I'll wear those 3 shirts 1,000 times over.
And you know, it got in my head too, Sabrina, because I brought 2 huge, like lawn-sized trash bags to Goodwill last week.
Yes!
And just like we said before, whose voice was in my head while I was doing it? It was Sabrina going, get rid of those damn 2 and 3XL shirts, Brian. Throw out the suits that you can't fit in, Brian.
I feel like we have all been on the receiving end of that because she did tell me to throw away a jacket. She told I put it on. She was like, that's not your size anymore.
That's not your size anymore. Let that go. It's time to let that go. But everyone knows it's coming from a place of love, you know?
Always.
It is coming from a place of love. And
Brian, can you just drop those at my house? You don't work far from me. Like I could use it because I can't afford all the clothes I keep buying.
we should do this at the meetup. I have 3 bags worth of clothes because my August or my fall stuff, none of it fits. So I'm like, this stuff has it has tags on it, you guys. So I'm like, I think I'm going to take it to the meetup. Oh, for those of you who are in the chat, there is a meetup in June.
Oh, hug everyone with a bunch of
everyone's we're gonna do a clothes exchange, right?
Yeah,
so there's a meetup in June in Atlanta. So sorry, a little sidebar.
So Brian, I love this question because I haven't really given it thought until you asked it. And I'm looking at all the things that I now do. First off, I think content creation took on a huge chunk because my brain wasn't focused on the food all the time. But like Sabrina knows, like skincare, and there's so many things now that like I go grocery shopping. Like I'll be like, oh, I'm going to spend 2 hours at the grocery store, and I wouldn't want to go there before because I would want to tear the place apart and get all the junk. And now it's like, oh, what's the good protein items that I can get here? And that, there's space in my brain that I just think I didn't think about until you asked the question. So thank you.
I couldn't go to the grocery store because I was in too much physical pain. I couldn't do it. I would have to pop a bunch of ibuprofen before we went to go grocery shopping, and then I'd have to lean on the cart.
That was me toward the, that's why I started doing the Instacart, whatever, because with my inflammation from my cheerleading accident when I was younger, all the stuff, but with the weight, it got so much worse. And I'm like hobbling down the aisle. And so I just stopped grocery shopping altogether.
Yeah.
Was anybody napping?
And now I still kind of rarely do because we're empty nesters and I just don't want all that much food.
Was anybody napping?
Can we have some food here?
Because I was the napper. Like I would tell my husband, go to the grocery store because I was the napper. I couldn't make it through a whole day without a nap because I had no energy. So I would just go to work and then come home and nap and stay in my bed and watch TV.
Was that before your hysterectomy more?
It was 100%.
That was before my hysterectomy. I was sleeping a lot. Yeah.
I have an answer to my own question, but I want to hear if Spoonie has an answer.
Yeah, I know. I was waiting for Spoonie.
I don't want to cut anybody off. I'm like,
no, you're not.
So every aspect of my life has changed for the better. Like I said earlier, just walking from one room to the other, I felt crippled. I don't use my handicap placard much anymore. I'm doing things in my own house. I went down in the basement at midnight last night because I had energy for I work nights, so midnight is usually when I end my shift. I went down there and I cleaned the entire basement so we can start our home gym. And before all this weight loss and the inflammation loss, that wouldn't have happened. My house is the cleanest it's ever been, ever, ever. I can clean my house.
I love that.
And I spent so much money on clothes. Oh my God.
Girl.
Like you said, I still things with tags on. I can wear things like OTP. What the hell is OTP? Oh God, don't look at me. No. Now, you want to know about OTP? Let me talk. Come on. I have shirts from my favorite brand, Two Crow Collective, that say No Spoons Club or No Spoons, No Fs. And people are always like, what does spoons mean? You got 5 minutes? For that? No, I did not like to be seen. I like to be invisible. Go to the store, get what I need, big black baggy clothes so nobody looked at me. Don't look at the fat girl, buying the Doritos, buying the Funyuns. Now I wear what I want and I'm proud to, show off the new me.
I love it. I love to see you. You're like flourishing and blossoming, and it's beautiful.
My big Spoonie energy.
I love it. It's beautiful.
I'll answer my own question. So this might be a weird one to hear a guy saying, but I realized that, well, the preface is I didn't know there was such a thing as food noise until it was gone. So I think there are a lot of people who put a word to food noise and understood what it was. For me, I think I honestly wasn't even really cognizant of it. I think I was just that was how I was existing. Like food noise was there, but it was so normal for me that it was just kind of under the surface all the time. But what was very at the surface for me was something that I've started to describe as body noise, where I was hyper conscious of my physical self all the time in a negative way. Like sitting on the couch at home by myself, clutching the pillow so that the ant on the wall wouldn't see how fat I was. I'm not sure. Because there was nobody there. The way in which I would get dressed in a strategic and thoughtful way as to minimize all of the things that I saw as physical flaws before I went off to work that day. The being in a group of friends and assessing, was I in fact the fattest friend in the room? Some of the things that went through my head now that I am cognizant of the fact that they're not happening anymore, it paved way for a much healthier thought process in all ways in life. Like I can actually just show up completely not conscious of my physical self in a negative way at all times, and can actually like enjoy the moment, I think, in ways that I didn't realize I wasn't allowing myself to, because that's where I ended up getting obsessed. It was less cognizant obsession over the food. It was more cognizant obsession over being the fat guy in all ways, and not wanting to be perceived. And that was an interesting revelation, that there was, in fact, for me, something called body noise that actually started to go away even before the weight started to go away. So I think the turning off of the obsessive thoughts element of tirzepatide was actually starting to work before the physical change was happening. And then as the physical change continued, it just further reinforced this sense of relaxation in myself, right? That I could be present in my physical body and not be thinking about it, not be concerned about how am I sitting? Am I behind somebody in a photograph? Am I, the eyebrows went up on that one. So that one must be a universal experience.
Oh my God, Brian, all of us hid.
Yeah. But just the constant thinking about it, I didn't realize how much I was constantly agonizing and beating myself up and not showing up for things, to Corey's point about not showing up for things. Wow. And that was oftentimes the driver for me. So, that was really a transformative thing for me, is to just be able to be physically present. And the ways in which I now show up in life are very different, because I'm showing up as my inner self and not my outer self, right? So I was always showing up sensitive to my outer self. Now I'm showing up with awareness of my inner self. And that's a very different way to present oneself in every aspect of life.
So I have thoughts. You just articulated something that I never realized that I was doing. Like I didn't, like even up until this very moment, I never realized that that's what I did, Brian. Like all the time. Like even if I was sitting at home by myself, I would have a pillow across my stomach. Who are you hiding from? Like everything that you just said is like, I didn't realize that I used to do that. And when you said you're showing up as your inner self or your outer self, you're showing up as your most authentic self. That's who you're showing up as now.
Brian, you said something that kind of made me laugh about like a memory that I used to do. So I'm 5'10", and generally I'm my tallest of my friends, what have you. So I'm always in the back. When we take a group picture, I'm always in the back. I go to the back. But conversely, if we're getting in a car and there's going to be multiple of us in the car, I'm in the front because I need leg room. Not because I felt like, that was like my thing. I'm like, oh, I got the front because I need leg room. Not because, okay, you're going to take up too much space in the back, but those are, very real things that, it's just like, yeah. And I relate to what Mike said about flying and getting to the gate and you're looking around like, I had a lot of flight anxiety.
Erica, do you want to share that one story? I mean, don't feel pressured to do it, but the one where she made the phone call or she said something, the girl that said something while you were on the flight, and
oh yeah, so
don't feel pressured.
No, it's fine. And I think you're talking about, I was coming back from Puerto Rico and I was sitting next to this lady, and I think that is what triggered the flight anxiety. I was sitting next to someone and I looked over and she was texting her friend about how she had to sit by a fat Black lady. I don't care about the Black part, but the fact that she called me fat, I'm like folding against myself, and I always would get like a window seat because I felt like I could fold
I could smash my body. Yep.
And I always felt like, when people would see that they were sitting next to me, I would be so apologetic because I just did not want to take up space. And, it's just one of those things. And it triggered a really huge anxiety about flying, like panic attack level anxiety. My husband works for an airline. We fly for free. and I wouldn't do it.
Yeah. I'm sorry that you went through that.
The number of times I mean, I fly a lot, right? The number of times I've seen someone take a photo of me on a plane is insane. Insane. Like, it happens all the time.
What do you mean a photo of you? What?
Like, they're snapping it to send to somebody else to say, look what I'm sitting next to. Like, this is what's going on. Like, it happens all the time, especially when you had to pull the seatbelt extender out. Like, that was the cue to like be like, oh, that person shouldn't be here.
Something that happened for me recently on a plane a little while ago, I told Sabrina about, and it was so deeply upsetting because I'm no longer overweight. I'm very small, and appropriately, but I'm very small. And so I was getting on a plane and I had a window seat, and I was one of the last people on the plane because I decided not to pay for a priority, whatever, you know. And so I'm getting on, and there are two young women sitting in the middle an aisle, just all kinds of people around. I'm like literally one of the last people. And I was like, oh, I'm right there. And they looked up and they were like, oh, good, it's you. And they both stood up, and then the one said to the other, and looked at everybody around us, and they said, she's so little. I'm so glad. Can you imagine if we were sitting next to some big, big person? And I was like, what's happening here? And they were like, or a screaming baby. I mean, I was like, I cannot believe you just said that out loud. There were large people behind, an entire row of them, and then to the side. And I was just like, I cannot believe people actually talk like this. And so I quickly diverted the subject because I felt so humiliated for everyone. Like, what is happening? And I went home. I almost cried in the plane. And I was like, I should have like confronted them. I should have done this. I should, just all this.
Did you think about it after the fact,
It was so shocking. And I was just trying to sit down. And I went home and I told my husband about it. And he was just like, no, you did the right thing. If you had said anything about that, you would have brought more shame to those people. They would have been more humiliated than what she was already saying. And I was like, okay, because like, what do you do in a situation like that? That's crazy.
So Corey, I said it in the chat when Angela said something about someone asking her why she's using a cane. And this is something that, I'm in HR and everything, but my go-to for that is like, just look at them, just like, wow, I'm surprised you felt comfortable saying that out loud. Just like look at, now we're both uncomfortable. Okay. So.
Right. Yeah. I was just like, I don't know how, like, it was so surprising. I had no time to react. Afterward, I thought about all these different things I could have said.
Yeah.
Right. But in the moment, I was stunned, and they were all waiting for me to sit down to take off. I was like, I don't want to get into a confrontation at this second with the people that I'm supposed to be sitting next to for the next however many hours.
Right.
Am I supposed to teach them? What am I supposed to do here? And so that's where I'm like, I got to find something, because these are going to continue to happen, these things. And I was treated like I was like God's gift to this green earth, like for being little. And I was infuriated over it.
There's very different opinions about this, but having existed on both ends of the spectrum, at one point in my life, I was tiny, the little. And then I've also been at the higher end. So existing in this world in a larger body is so hard. We have to apologize for even existing.
Yep.
For even existing.
And I think it's harder when you've been in a bigger body than going to a smaller body.
And then going back up to a bigger
and then going back up, or if you've gone up and down and up and down, or like Corey said, now you're in a smaller body and you hear how people truly feel.
Oh my gosh.
About others.
I didn't have something like it was so okay to say.
I didn't have something that bad, but I have been in a place where like I've ordered an ice cream or something like Haagen-Dazs or something, and not too long ago somebody said to me, like, when I ordered an ice cream, they handed it to me and they're like, well, yeah, you can eat this because you're thin, but not all those other people that just came here and ordered the ice cream. And I'm like, huh? Like, what do you mean?
Ever feel like almost like an imposter, or like you are?
But the fact that someone, and I thought that was, someone told me, well, yeah, you're allowed to have this here. You can have 3 of these. And I'm like, well, why can't everybody else? And it's mind blowing.
Mm-hmm.
And you do feel like an imposter. You feel like, well, wait a minute. No, like those are my people. Like I like to eat.
Right.
I like to eat. So, I mean, everybody who likes to eat is my people. I don't care what body you're in. So when you say that, I'm like, wait, what do you mean? No.
Yeah, like I was almost just like, I'm down 40% of my body weight. So today's your lucky day. Like I kept thinking, and then I was like, I'm just so enraged right now. Like I don't even know what to do. And then the moment passed, and they're, whatever. But
I think I have a very guy specific version of this that I've noticed recently. Was for the longest time I thought my name was Big Guy, because people are very comfortable calling big men Big Guy.
Yes.
As like a,
what is that? Like, why do they do that? You're so right.
Random strangers, waiters at restaurants, people in doctors' offices. Big Guy became something that made me cringe until I became pretty numb to it after a while. And it was like, maybe it's a term of endearment in this case. Maybe, like you just, people who don't know you that well calling you Big Guy always sort of was like, that's a strange thing to say. I get sir now, which is a very quite significant about face from Big Guy from strangers, and that struck me recently, noticing that. I was like, when was the last time someone just randomly called me Big Guy because they were feeling extra confident about describing me physically in a pretend term of endearment? And it was really interesting to notice that recently, as I haven't heard Big Guy in a while, at least since the summertime. And it's unique that people are comfortable, particularly with men, calling him Big Guy and not realizing that actually does kind of it does have a negative effect. It is received poorly oftentimes. And at first I thought, I'm being sensitive to this because body noise, this is triggering me. They've noticed, and now they're naming it. They've noticed it and they're naming it. And so for a long time I thought that was me being hypersensitive to it. Now that it's not happening anymore, I'm like, no, people are just kind of rude.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The Hispanic culture does the same thing. Like the exact translation is fatso, like it's fatty. So they will tell you, like, as a term of endearment, like the word fatty, and they will the same use the word skinny. So like you're gonna say, like how you would say in English, hey honey, can you grab me that, I don't know, cup? You would say, hey fatty, can you grab me that cup? And it's a term of endearment in the Hispanic culture. So I was forever, hey fatty, forever. And I think my husband the other day was like, hey skinny, because it's like in our culture. And I was like, don't call me that.
Yeah.
Like, okay, relax.
Yeah.
It's like saying honey or babe, or in English, it's equivalent in the Spanish culture, and it's very accepted. Yeah, somebody put it, flaca and gorda, exactly. And I realized I have an aunt that we were all raised calling her gorda, which is fatty. And I'm like, oh my God, I've called you that my whole life. But she's like, no, I'm used to it. And I'm like, no, but I can't call you that anymore.
Right.
It doesn't make it right.
Right.
I was
and
trained.
the elders are the worst with
yes. The elders, they ask you
Indian people too.
Lose weight. When are you going to lose weight?
Too, y'all? Because
you start pinching at your fat and just look at you.
It's like the question: when are you having kids? When are you getting married? And when are you losing weight? And now my grandmother is 91 and tells me, "Stop losing weight. You're too skinny."
They feel so comfortable. On my wedding day, like hours before my wedding, my cousin comes up to me and goes, why'd you get so fat?
No.
Yeah, he goes, oh, you used to be so pretty. Why'd you get so fat?
On your wedding day?
On my wedding day.
Oh, that's
Indian
terrible.
people are, okay, but see, it's a culture thing. It is a culture thing.
It is a culture thing.
It is a culture thing because it's not taboo. It's not taboo to talk about. It's like, oh, look at the weather. Oh, did you see Sabrina? She got so fat. So
yes. Oh my God.
totally, it's
Yes.
completely acceptable to talk about.
My mother, bless her heart, does it. She called me today. She goes, you know who I ran into now? I just saw this person. She's so fat. I'm like, Mom, I'm working hard.
I had an aunt, and she was she was elderly at the time when we had this conversation. She was probably a good 85, and she met my boyfriend for the first time, and he's meeting my family for the first time. And I'm like, "Oh, hi, Aunt Ethel, how are you doing?" She's like, "Oh, look at you, just as pretty and big as a house." I'm like, and that's his first introduction to my family, and he's just like, "Yo, do I swing or what? Like, you know, because I'll fight an old lady, you know, just like."
That's
The Italian version of this is much more passive aggressive, because I recall my grandmother using the term healthy, which you would think was good, but healthy was not good. Oh, you're looking extra healthy.
Yeah.
And then in the same breath offer you food.
Mhm.
So
Exactly.
that was the Italian version of it. It was, you're looking extra healthy right now. Are you moving? Are you playing sports? Are you doing? And then it was, eat something I cooked, and it was like, this is cognitive dissonance.
This is not right. Like, whatever's happening right now,
none of this adds up.
Right.
But I feel like we've grown so accustomed to it, and like Jay said in the chat, it might be cultural, but that doesn't make it okay. And you know, but I can laugh about it now. But yeah, that used to hurt. It wasn't a holiday until you got insulted, you know.
Right. I had to brace myself anytime I was around, like, you know, like family or like huge functions. I was like preparing my mentally preparing my comebacks, you know.
How do they treat you now in the holidays, Sabrina? If you saw your family in Thanksgiving or Christmas, what was their response?
Right now, with having come down so much, I mean, they were, so happy. They were so supportive, and it's interesting now that I'm on this side of it. It's, you know, we were just worried about your health, you know, and but because of the culture aspect of it, it was just always like, so it's everyone in my family and in my life has been extremely supportive of this. But I'm also kind of like Spoonie, because like in the beginning, I didn't care what anyone thought or said, or because this was what I was doing. I mean, they were like, "Are you sure?" I was like, "This is not, this is my journey. This is this is something that I need to do. And I intend to." So everybody has been super, super supportive, which has been nice for me. So, and if you don't, you should buy Dave's book.
That's a great plug.
Dave's book is available on Amazon.
I read it on my Kindle, just real quick.
Yep. So, okay. So does anybody else want to, I don't even remember what the question was.
It was Brian's.
About food noise.
Yep. We really went from that one. Has everyone gone that wants to go?
Water check.
Okay, yes, water check. So, Tatiana,
because Mike's gonna need the bathroom again.
Tatiana's question was,
like, these are bad with me because I will run out in another hour.
Tay, we are talking to you as well. So Tatiana's question was, name an NSV that you were not expecting, but now it's caught you by surprise. So Tati, I want you to go first, so you can explain what you had initially submitted.
I don't even remember what I wrote to you, Sabrina. I have to pull up the email.
Oh my God. Right as I'm taking a sip. Thank you for that. That almost came out of everything.
You held it together, though. You held it together.
Oh my God.
Let's see what I sent you. But I can't tell you what I meant by the question. Oh, here it is. What I meant was, like, name an NSV that now you're like, wow, an NSV. But back when you started, you were never searching for that. Maybe you were searching to like, you know, we have talked about fitting in an airplane seat, not wearing an extender, or maybe you were looking forward to, you know, just something that you wanted, but now something else happened. So basically, I'll say mine now. I remember what I said. I remember. The NSV that I did not know I needed, that's a better way of saying it. The NSV you didn't know you needed was that my sleep improved. I used to be very, very a hot sleeper. I would sweat and I was just very uncomfortable, like to turn side to side. I would like jump and the bed would shake and I had to sleep with 2 pillows. Never in my wildest dreams did my brain connect that was related to my weight. So my NSV now is that I don't sweat. I have like the best sleep in my life. I'm actually always cold. I need like a heated blanket. I don't need the 2 pillows. And I sleep like a baby. And I would have never, ever, if you asked me at the beginning of Terzepatide, I would have never told you, oh, I hope, you know, yeah, I want to bring down my A1C and I want to fit into a smaller size jeans. But I did not think that my sleep would be the NSV that I needed.
I'm going to go with stairs. For me, when I first initially started this, my goal was to get my A1C under control because I had been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. You know, obviously go down, like lose weight and get my A1C under control, but I gotta, like, stairs were my like nemesis. You know, I was terrified of them. And I would move up and down very, very slowly and with caution. Because, well, number one, the pain, but also if I was going down, I don't know that I was coming back up. I don't know that I would be able to get back up. So, and now I have a love-hate relationship with the Stairmaster. I have an outrageous goal of doing 10,000 steps on the Stairmaster because of a book. But I never thought that the fear of stairs was going to be something that would be wiped because of this, because of Manjaro. I just always, in my mind, it was such a big part of me. I never thought that would ever go away. And now I'm over here doing the Stairmaster all the time, you know? So it's kind of like a win.
Awesome.
Win.
I'm gonna
Go ahead.
Go, Spoonie.
Spoonie, I want you to just bust out like we do, girl.
Yes.
Spoonie, we're gonna bring you over to TikTok one day, and you're gonna see us like, hey, yeah, wow, hey, what do you say?
This is the beauty, though. There's limitations with TikTok and who can go live. The second Dave said OTP, I was like, I'm getting Spoonie. I immediately hit up Spoonie. I was like, Spoonie.
I'm getting there. I've got like 500 followers now, so I'm getting there.
Everybody follow Spoonie. Everyone follow everyone, but definitely follow Spoonie.
So to piggyback off of you with the stairs, I've always had to do one step at a time because the pain and the fear of falling down the stairs. Crap. Is my husband here? Is he going to be able to, help me? Mm-hmm. I don't want to do those stairs. One day, about a month or two ago, I'm going down the stairs. I'm like, let me see if I can do it like a normal human, one. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh my God, this doesn't hurt. Oh my God, I'm not going to fall down. I can do this. And now I run up and down the stairs. If I want to go see my husband in his office upstairs, I'll run up the stairs. Like, yeah.
And you can still breathe when you get to the top, right? That's the most important part.
Yes. I'm not fighting for my life, right? Like, I'm not like it's an incredible feeling. It really is.
Mm-hmm. Other one is, and this is not dirty. Don't take this the dirty way, but my husband can throw me around now. We love.
Oh, we're gonna take it
dirty. However we're gonna take it.
What do you
long
mean
as you
don't
don't
take
stare.
it dirty?
We love to wrestle.
Tell me more.
The TikTok panel after dark.
I love it.
He picked me up over his head the other day. I'm like, no, I'm too fat. Oh wait, no, I'm not. You can bench press more than me.
Mhm.
So that
Sounds
was
like a
just,
healthy marriage.
I
Sounds
cried.
like fun.
Yeah, Scooty, how in your right mind did you think that would not be dirty? I'm just wondering.
Oh, I knew it was.
Charles,
Dave, don't be mad at me.
right mind.
Scooty, do you know who you are on this panel with?
Oh boy.
I was going to say we're all adults here, but that's chronological, not maturity based. So, yeah.
Well, I'll say I have two. And one, I'm just going to keep with the theme of the stairs. Because one of the things that used to happen is that when I went downstairs for the day, I'm downstairs for the day. I will take everything that I need because I'm not going back upstairs until it's time to go to bed. And if I need something, I'm going to send my kid upstairs to come and get it. And so that's not my reality anymore. I'm up and downstairs multiple times a day, and I'm fine. My second one is more, I guess, abstract. And I think it has to do with healing. I think that I am stronger with my boundaries now because I've healed, and I feel like it's easier for me to ascertain, no, I don't want to, or no, I don't deserve that, or I deserve better. And it not be such a foreign concept that I just have to take whatever people try to give me. You know, I really feel like I stand up for myself in certain situations better than I did previously. And I am unapologetic about it. So, or it could be that I'm like barreling towards 45 and I'm just, once you get to a certain age, you're just like, psh, this is me. So it could be part of that, but I think it has to do with my healing.
I love that. I love that.
So this one's
not apologizing, right? For who you are. That's powerful.
So this is a harder one for me because the NSV I didn't expect was the realization that I hadn't been a full partner in my relationship because of the pain and the inflammation. And, I had this moment, this NSV, when we talked about it before, but my water heater exploded. And I found myself in the basement helping to clean and to make this all work. And my husband looked at me and I looked at him, and there was just this moment where who would think in the middle of standing in a puddle that you realize you're in the middle of a victory, but I just wasn't that present in the physical labor of my relationship. Like I relied on him to do all of that. And so for me, the one I didn't know and I didn't expect, and I think was the hardest emotionally, was the realization that had been going on for a while and I hadn't realized it. Not to take down the energy. Sorry, folks.
No.
But that's a positive, Mike, because you're on the other side of it. It would have been worse to realize that and you were still in it.
Still on that.
You're on the other side of it. So,
yeah.
That is so powerful.
Yeah, there's no downward energy in victory. I would just say turn it around and say the victory is that you are now present as an equal partner in your relationship.
Absolutely.
You're looking back at it from the deficit thinking. I would say look at it as the victory. Say you're not that person anymore. You're there. You are shoveling water right alongside him now because you can, and you did that for yourself.
So today I was excited because it's it's Boston and it's icy and it's cold. I know it's cold everywhere, but it was like 14 degrees and it was garbage day, and we live on a driveway that's a slight hill that the people who cleared it didn't clear it very well, and so it was icy. And I took the barrels down, and I know that sounds stupid, but I would have panicked that I would have fallen in the snow to get to my car. And I literally took the garbage in today and was like, huh, I'm not afraid of falling that way anymore. Like with certainty that I was going to fall. Not that I couldn't have fallen. I could have, but I was certain I would have fallen before.
Or
Like,
if you would have fallen, you wouldn't have been able to get yourself up. You know?
Like, there's so many people now in the chat sharing that same fear about falling in the snow, and that they hope they can get over it one day because they're petrified of falling and not being able to get up on their own.
Yeah.
So that is so powerful.
There was one point where I was scared that if I fell, I mean, you guys know this, but the people in the chat don't. My husband is a big dude, like he's a bodybuilder. He's a big, strong, humongous guy. And if I fell, I honestly, in my heart, don't think that he would have been able to get me up. Like, that was one of my biggest fears, even with how big he is. Like, I was like, if I go down, even he is not going to be able to get me up, you know? And
get weight.
Yep.
I want to share that I once fell in the snow, and it actually happened to me in Boston.
I was going to say, it wasn't in Miami, right?
No, it wasn't in Miami. I was in Boston. It was a snowstorm, and the Floridian was like, I want to see snow. So me and my husband went outside. No one was outside. I'm like, why is nobody outside? He's like, because we are weird. I was right in front of Faneuil Hall. I was walking to catch the subway, the one that's right there by
I know exactly what you're talking.
That stamp on the floor where the massacre happened.
Yep.
It was right in front of Faneuil Hall.
So Tati, I got married literally there, where the Boston Massacre happened.
Yes.
That building.
Yeah.
I literally looked out on the site of the Boston Massacre for my wedding.
Yeah. So I fell in the snow right there, and I hurt myself pretty bad. Like, I got a bruise and everything. I ended up trying to flip it and laugh at it, and I showed a lot of my friends the video because I would make it a joke back then. And every single response was, geez, you hurt yourself bad. That's, 250 pounds coming down hard. It was just the joke after joke after joke. And I could get up. I mean, my max was 230, but it was just the joke. And to this day, my family shows that video to people. Show them when you fell in the snow. And it's like the laughing stock because I fell in the snow. So, I never got to the point where I couldn't get back up. But the fact that I fell and it's like a laughing joke, it was always there. It's still there. But I just share this because the people that were scared, I am healed enough now that I can say it and it doesn't even faze me. Because I know that girl was struggling. She was trying to hide it. And it takes a lot to get there, but you start to just feel comfortable in your skin and who you are. And I know I was never a number. I was never my weight. And it's okay. It's okay for people to displace their angers on me and their feet. That's a their problem. I don't deal with that.
That is a problem.
Yeah.
For me, I've thought about, like, there's a flood of physical ones that come to mind, but I think that most of the people on the panel know that I always kind of go back to the mindset stuff for some reason. And that for me was the biggest non-scale victory, aside from all the health stuff and all the clothing size stuff and all the physical stuff. That's all super important, and any one of them I could talk about and feel equally proud of. But for me, it's the most surprising non-scale victory is the space that I have for kind of the mental wellness healing process. That I think it wasn't, when you're so consumed by the physical stuff, you don't necessarily have a lot of bandwidth for the mental and emotional stuff. And it's I think one of the reasons why it's so surprising is that it's actually really jarring at first. When all of the physical stuff and the food relationship stuff and the weight relationship stuff and the identity stuff that gets swirled around that quiets, and you're just kind of left with your brain and your emotions, it can be really jarring. And I think it's something that the GLP-1 community tries to talk about, but I think it's sometimes it's also a third rail because it can be a mood killer when we're all celebrating losing pounds. But I also think that it's an important part of it. It has been for me, an important part of it, because I've like confronted a lot of, I hate, like, I feel like it gets overused, the word trauma, but I think that's the only way to describe it is, confronting a lot of like emotional trauma, mental health trauma, and just like unconfronted things that were never front of mind because there was always the distraction of the physical, and always the project of myself that was never quite meeting any permanent milestones. So it's really easy when you make your physical self a project and you have to keep working on that same project over and over again, that you can completely neglect the emotional and mental project. So now in my mid 40s, it's like, who are you? Who do you want to be? What kind of person do you want to be? How do you confront the things that were rough? How do you, how do you ascertain the things you want to achieve? How do you forgive yourself for the things that you did to yourself? And that's kind of all happening now as the physical stuff is becoming easier. And so that's the most surprising non-scale victory for me when I went into this, it was like, fix the health problems, don't die young. That seemed pretty imminent and immediate. So I was like, let's tackle those. And now that those are under control, I left with this sort of shocking, like, oh wow, I've got to work on like the mental part too, because that has to be healthy too.
Yeah. So you're singing my song, Brian. You're singing my song, because like when I first started, I was obsessed. I would weigh myself every single day. It was very, my goal was very much tied to the number on the scale, and that's fine, but for me, after a while, I started to lose sight of the bigger picture of like Tati said, I am more than this number, right? So I'm trying to achieve overall health, and because of this arbitrary number that I'm trying to so desperately reach, I'm losing sight of the fact that I want to be physically healthy. I want to have better labs. I want to like be healthier emotionally, spiritually, all of it. So then I stopped focusing so much on that aspect of it. And then when I shifted what I was paying attention to, a lot of that opened up, and I was like, "Ooh, you're a mess inside. You're messy," And I didn't realize that I was messy until I kind of took a step back and looked. And I feel like this community really helped me identify that, because prior to that, it was, like laser focused, scale, number on the scale. And I realized this journey is more than the scale.
Lately, I've been trying to put my brain into a space where I'm like, how much am I going to care about what my body looks like when I'm 80? And how grateful am I going to be 80 when I was 43 and the doctor thought I was going to have a stroke? So I'm trying to shift my brain there, because it's very easy for me, having described the body noise issue before, to focus in on a goal physicality, right? Wanting to achieve a certain weight or certain physique or whatever it is, an image of myself that I want to achieve. But I'm like a whole 45 years old, and it's like, well, that 20-year-old man is long gone, so he's not, then we're not going to have the 20-year-old body, and we're not going to pay for the 20-year-old body. So, so it's kind of like the weight stuff becomes less of an aesthetic pursuit, and it's become more of a health pursuit. And as it's become more of a health pursuit, it's become less about the specific number, because all the NSVs add up to the health pursuit, the weight being one of them. And then I just start to think about, when I'm that like wrinkly old 80-year-old man, I'm not going to give, what, about what someone thinks about what my body looks like, I'm probably going to be grateful that I invested this time now, so that A, I made it there, and B, hopefully made it there in really good health, and can actually enjoy not giving a damn what someone thinks about what the body looks like. And I'm trying to put my brain there now, so that I can take the pressure off of myself, so that I don't develop a new type of body noise. That becomes focused on the achievement as opposed to the deficits, right? And so that's kind of an interesting place where I'm trying to move my brain now, because I feel like that's speaking to the mental wellness side of it. I feel like that's more aligned with that. I don't want to replace one type of negative thinking, one type of negative obsession with another type of obsession. Being obsessed with the achievement of the positive is still an obsession. And so that's kind of where I am with it now. And I'm not there yet, but that's where I'm trying to get. And that's kind of, I'm hoping that's the next NSV, is to like actually getting there. I'm putting words to it and I'm processing it. I want to feel it now. You know?
Right.
You sound like you're doing pretty good, Brian.
I
was very aware of your journey and what you're processing and going through. You're very aware, and that brings healing in time.
I was listening to this podcast on the ride home today, and it was on GLP-1s, and it was sort of coming to this conclusion towards the end that no one that they would talk to when they reached their goal ever felt satisfied. And it was this really interesting sort of deep spot that most people get there and they're still like, but my arms, but my loose skin, but Ozempic butt, like but. And it was super interesting because I started to really think about, like, I don't really have a goal number, and what is that? What do I want to look like? Does it need to be perfect? How do I get out of my head from that space, Brian, that like, I'm going to be fine at 80 if I make it, So let's just enjoy the body that we have. And that's hard.
It is. It's definitely
I feel like you were robbed.
Yeah, it's different. It's different from what we've all been like striving for, right? Like what we've all been envisioning.
And that, I think that what's interesting for me is because I have been overweight all of my life, I know with almost scientific certainty that even if I get to a specific low weight, I'm going to have loose skin. I'm going to have, jiggles and cellulite and all of those things, because that my body has been stretched for so long. So it's like, I don't care about stretch marks or anything like that. I kind of do care about my butt though, Mike, because like it's disappearing. But
hold on. So I'm going to step in really quick. So for those of you who don't know, in the chat, I try to do monthly challenges. Was it August, July or August? We did like a plank challenge, and then we did like, so there are different challenges. Like next month, it's going to be the arm challenge. So one of these days we'll do a squat challenge.
We're going to have to do a squat challenge, because I was looking at my before and after. I'm like, but where is it going? I can pick out a couple extra places that I would love for it to start with, but it's going away from there. Brian, one of the things that that I thought about while you were talking is that, sometimes it's like we don't even realize the mental work that we have to do. And for me, in May, so I started the end of February. So in May, by that time, the food noise had gone away. My uncle passed away in May. We had Mother's Day in May, and I'm estranged from my mom, and I have gone through infertility. May was so difficult to me, and I was like, why am I crying? I'm just like, I was having all of the feels, and I'm like, why is this hitting me so hard? And then I thought about it. That's when I realized that the food noise had gone away, because I'm like, I have all this time to think about all of these feelings. And I'm like, I had to call my therapist, like, girl, we need some time. We need some FaceTime.
You're singing my song. You are singing my song, because Erica, like all these thoughts to whoever's like, when your mind opened up, now I was feeling my feelings before, and I was just consuming my feelings. It would piss me off. I'd go and eat. I'd get something good would eat. I would go and eat, shovel. Like, so now that that's physically, that's no longer an option. I'm feeling my feelings, and I'm like, oh my God.
Like,
I need therapy.
Yeah, what is this?
I think I need therapy. And I started therapy, and I was like, heal all the things, because I was like, this is crazy. It was nuts. That realization.
Sabrina, it's so funny because I basically word vomit to my therapist, and had the nerve, I can laugh about it now, but had the nerve to say, but beyond all that, I think I'm extremely well adjusted. And she was like, so what makes you think that? And I was like, like, why would you say that to me?
Why you gotta be so loud? No.
Right. Like, you didn't have to say that so loud.
I love it.
Mike, you said that you almost feel robbed, and I totally resonate with that, because I always felt, especially throughout my 20s, I was the girl I got a lot of like, oh, you would be so pretty if you weren't fat. And I used to get a lot of that, and that was something that really always stuck with me. So when I first dropped the weight, I used to tell myself, well, maybe now's the time to like do and wear everything that I couldn't before. And it was this like back and forth in my head, like Brian was saying, like, okay, well, no, because I'm not 21 and I have like, I'm a mom of 2, like, what is this? And then I'm not gonna wear this stuff. So, but I did struggle with that feeling of being robbed of a certain part of my life, and I'm like, I can't get it back. And then back to the circle of it's my fault, and just that whole thing. But
Teddy, I'm just starting to fit into clothes that you can buy in a normal store, right? And I've said my age will be damned, so to speak, and I will dress how I want to dress, and I don't know what my style is. Because I had to buy clothes that would fit, and so I was obsessed with polo growing up because it fit. Ralph Lauren knows how to cut for bigger bodies than men. He just does. And so I was preppy because I could get that very easily. And now I'm like, well, what do I actually want to wear? Who am I? Right. And I'm like, you know what? I don't care right now if it's age inappropriate. You know what? Look at me weird. You've been looking at my body weird for years because I'm too big. So whatever.
We're used to it. We're used to the looks. Wear what you want to wear, baby. Wear what you want to wear.
Well, I am. I totally am.
With women, we're so used to wearing the floral dresses or
Lane
so
Bryant and Catherine.
I got rid of like all the floral. I'm like,
Lane Bryant,
that crap ever again.
Lane Bryant and Catherine's. Like, can you imagine being 12 and shopping in Avenue? Like, we didn't have Torrid back then, or some of the other trendy spots for the curvy girls. Like, I will never forget my mother for having me in Catherine's at 12. Like,
with the boys, you had to shop in the Husky section.
Husky, yeah.
That word triggers the hell out of me.
Oh, let me know.
So when so I don't know wherever you guys are in the country. So like for me in Chicago, there's a store called Maurice's. And what I would do when I would go to Maurice's, I would immediately go to the back of the store for the plus size section. And then I believe it was last January, I was inside the store and I stopped and I was like, I'm not this size anymore. And I had a moment and I got emotional because I got to walk away from all the floral and walked to the front, and a whole new world opened up for me. I didn't even know what to pick. I didn't know what I liked. I didn't know what my style was. Everything was like a fresh palette for me, because let's be honest, the back of the store, there really aren't that many things. It's usually floral 99% of the time. And it's like, it's something that we had to settle for almost. And when I went to the front of the store, and it was almost like one of those like defining moments in your journey. This was one for me. And I was like, I could pick this, and oh, do I like this? I mean, like I felt like a kid in a candy store. And then when I went into the dressing room and I tried on the clothes, I started bawling my eyes out. It was a very impactful moment.
Did you have to keep coming out of the dressing room because the first size you picked was too big?
Yes. That's why I holler at all of you about your clothes. You're not that size anymore, guys. Stop buying it.
I'm still making that mistake.
Yeah.
I've got belts working overtime because my brain has still not accepted the size pants that I can fit into. And so I was like, why did I order 3 of these too big pairs of jeans?
Yep.
But I did, and I was too afraid to send them back. And so it does take quite a leap of believing that you're where you are. And I think that
going back.
Yeah. Yes. And I think to Tati's point before about the like age appropriate clothing, I think that there's, and Mike's follow-on point on that, I also think that there's like a certain like treat yourself kind of element to this in my mind. It's like when you are in a bigger body, your choices are limited, but also your intentions are different when you're dressing yourself.
Yep.
You're either covering yourself or distracting from yourself.
That's flattering. I hate that word.
Yeah.
Pick something that's flattering.
Right. And I think that there's something legitimate for men and women, both in different ways, in terms of like actually being able to express yourself through your physicality in clothing and hair, whatever it might be, because you're not dressing out of utility anymore. Like this is big enough to cover my body, or dressing out of distraction. I'm covering this. I'm picking this because it covers this or it covers that. And it just becomes you're actually able to express who you are, through your physicality, I think is actually a celebration. Not just of like achieving weight loss, but it's like a celebration of like, I can use this as a way to communicate who I am, what I like, how I want to project myself. I think that there's it gets talked about like it's like a superficial thing, but I actually think it's very much deeper than that in terms of expressing yourself. I mean, I look at Spoonie and she's got these beautiful glasses on and this brightly colored hair. She's got expressing herself down, and like she's, and like that's, I think that that's how we should feel about this stuff is like, we are not forced into expressing ourselves a certain way through our clothing or through our appearance, because we're limited or because we feel a certain negative way about ourselves. It's nice to be able to project yourself in a positive and authentic way. So I like hearing those stories and I like feeling it for myself because it's like you get to, it's like a way of being yourself. It's a way of communicating who you are. And there's value there. I think that is above just the kind of the vapid, superficial side of it, or the, it's much more than that. I like freeing when people talk about it that way. Yeah.
It's freedom too, Brian. It's this unbelievable freedom for me. I'm going to go shopping tomorrow and I don't have to stick to the same 1 or 2 places. I don't have to go to the Ann Taylors and the Lane Bryants and all of I don't have to stick, like, I can see things, and although it's still hard, I can see something and say, oh, wow, I can wear that. And it's hard for me to reach for a small, but I can still do that. And it is so freeing that I can walk into any store and someone's not going to say, can I help you? You can shop back there.
You don't have anything in your size.
Or we don't have anything your size.
Yeah. I've had people
those clothes
say,
are fitted.
Yeah. I've had people tell me, can I help you? I'll try to find a size 16, like out loud. And it's just so freeing that I can pick up and literally go anywhere. And it's like, almost want to like release some of that anger and say, well, I'm going to shop here too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I
free.
ended up bawling in a Patagonia outlet in Salt Lake City, Utah. I had gone with friends, right, and a whole bunch of people. So I knew I wasn't going to fit in anything, and I always wanted to have something from Patagonia, right? So I went intending to buy hats and gloves and try not to embarrass myself, so I could be in line with everyone else when they went through the store, because that's what you get when you're larger. And I went to a clearance rack, and I found something that at the time was 3X, and I put it on, and I had just bought a winter coat in a big and tall store literally the day before and spent way too much money. And I was like, oh my God, this zips and fits. And I was crying. And my friend found me, and she knew the journey I was on. And she was like, you are buying that. You do know that you are buying that jacket. And I wear that thing with pride now. It's crazy.
I love that. I love that you, number one, tried it, and number two, fit in it, and number three, you bought it. I love that.
I had to buy a new bag to get home with my 2 new winter coats from Salt Lake City. But I did it too.
I love
it.
it.
It wasn't January, so don't worry, Sabrina.
I love it. Yeah, okay. The no spend January. Just really quick, I had a kind of vulnerable moment recently about, I think it was in December. I went to Kohl's because the family was coming, and then I'm like, I want to buy a couple of sweaters for some pictures and stuff. And I grabbed a size, hold on, let me go back. I'm going to preface this with, I came from a 4X, okay? 3 4X. So when I was picking up the sweaters, I'm in a medium. So randomly it's a small. So I picked up the sweater and it was a small, but it looked larger. So I'm like, I'm gonna try it. It says it's a small, and you're not a small, Sabrina. So I went in and I tried it on, and it was huge. Not because it was the way it was cut. But in my mind, I'm like, oh, well, I can get this. And then when I brought it home and showed Lou, he's like, what the hell is this? I'm like, it's a small. And he goes, but why didn't you get a smaller size than that? And I'm like, because the fat girl in me was like, oh, what, you're too small for the small, Sabrina? Like, like that ugly side of me reared its head and was like, oh, the small is too small.
Like, you're delusional. Like,
yep. So it was almost like that old Sabrina came out, and I felt very like beat down by it. And then when Lou was like, what the hell is this? Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I got scared. You weren't there.
You're looking at the size and you're just like, it doesn't feel real. So I think that even when I buy stuff, sometimes it's just like I automatically, shopping on TikTok is one thing because they are all over the place with sizes. And it's just like, oh, it's an extra large, but it's like a 14. But then I see someone who's clearly like a 22 and they're fitting it or whatever. So it's like, I know that size doesn't mean anything from brand to brand because it really just depends. But it's almost like you said, that inner you are just like, okay, don't be ridiculous, girl. Like, yeah.
I thought that girl was just in my head. I'm so glad you said that, Sabrina.
Yeah.
I thought that was me. I told you about when I went to go shop for jeans, and I walked into the store and I was like, I'm ready. And I got the size, and they were like, oh, the fitting room's here. And I could not step into the fitting room. And I think, Erica, you saw that video too. I posted about it because instead of saying, okay, I'm going to go try these, which were a size 8 and fit me comfortably, instead of going to the fitting room and failing, I decided to put them down and say, no, I'm not trying anything. And I decided to just continue to wear my pants that are 2 sizes too big for me, because I could not fail at trying them on and then them not closing. Because in my head, and I can fit comfortably into a 6, but in my head, I will not let myself. In my head, I still need 16 pushing 18 because I am not deserving, But
and I'm glad that you said that. And I'm glad that you recognize that, because I think that that's what it stems from. Either we don't think that we're deserving, or we're trying to punish ourselves to say like, well, this is the prize and you're not there yet. And I really think that that's what it is, because even when we look at it and we're just like, okay, well, clearly this doesn't fit, but you don't deserve to get a smaller size. It's like that negative self-talk almost.
It was horrible.
I have not shopped in person yet. I have only shopped on TikTok Shop or Amazon. I have not gone into a store yet, and I am beyond goal. Like I think I'm like a 0, you know, like I'm very little, and I mean, I still have curves, but you know.
We saw you in the wedding dress.
Yeah.
Oh, we saw you in that snatch.
It was like smoke show.
My $20 dress that I got online, and I was like, this fits. So, but I don't know why. This is an interesting conversation, because I'll be able to go into any of the stores on Park Avenue and where I live. You know, I'll be able to go to any of these top stores where I would never dream of spending that much, any sort of amount of money on quality clothes before on myself. I wouldn't have done that before. I could go in there now and I could get anything, but something is stopping me and I don't know what. I feel very overwhelmed by the entire experience. I don't know who, like you were saying, I don't know who I am with my clothing. I don't know what I want. I don't know that I want the experience of being fawned over, because I'm acceptable now. I don't know where, I mean, I guess that's what's stopping me, all of those factors, but I have not stepped foot in a store, and I just don't want to go in, and I need to work on that.
The mental blocks are so real. So I went in to the dressing room and I put on a pair of jeans that should not have fit, and the size number should not have fit, but I was like, oh my God, it fits. I was so excited, but I went to the counter because there was no other colors in this particular style. And I'm like, if it fits, I want 3 pairs. And so I gave them the pants. And then I told them, can you look online for this size? And it was a size larger. So I ended up buying 2 more pairs of jeans, because in my head, the number that was on the jeans that fit wasn't real. And so I had 2 pairs of jeans that went directly to Goodwill. Right. That just did not fit because my brain could not handle the number.
And that's why it helps to bring somebody with you when your body has gone through such a significant change and you're doing that. I shared a story with Jay because he and I went to a similar destination a few months apart, and I suggested a store to him. And when I went to the store, I grabbed a men's 36 waist shorts because my bigger sizes were like men's 38 or 40. I don't have an ass. Oops, sorry, I shouldn't have said that. Don't have a rear end. And so I've never been big in pants. The donkey, a donkey. It's a word for donkey. It's in the dictionary. Look it up. So anyway, it's biblical even. So moving forward, so I grabbed a 36 and I walked towards the dressing room, and the nice gentleman who was attending to the dressing room was like, that's too big for you. And I was like, no, trust me. This is like 2 sizes smaller than what I've been wearing. I was like, they'll fit me. He's like, those are not going to fit you, but go right ahead, sir. And I went in, I tried them on, and I came out, and I was like, these fit. And the guy was like, those don't fit you, sir.
I was like, basically me.
I was like, so I should grab the 34. And he was like, you stay here. I will bring you a 33. And I was like, that's not gonna button, dude. I was like, maybe you're flattering me. Do you get paid on commission? Because you're not gonna make a sale. I'm gonna walk out empty handed, and so are you. And he brought back a 33 and I buttoned them. And I was like, now granted, they were sized a little differently, but like needing another human being to check me, in this case, a stranger to check me, prevented me from buying a very expensive pair of shorts that would have fit me for exactly 60 seconds. And then I, would have lost 2 more pounds and they would have been on the floor. Yeah. And so I share that because it really did help to have another person who was like the reality check, because I just could not see myself. To Mike's point, the instincts are like, this can't be real.
It can't be true.
This cannot be real. And so needing another human being to check you, to be like, no, actually, that's what fits looks like. Not hanging off of you is not fits.
Right.
Hiding your body is not fits.
Right. Right.
It covers you, but it doesn't fit you.
Right.
And that's a difference.
That mindset, right? Because before I didn't buy clothes that fit. I bought clothes that hid.
So that was a revelation for me, is I need another human being. My brain will not allow me to do that math. My brain will not allow me to do that math. Even now, that was 7 months ago. Even now, my brain will not let me do that math. I need another human being to say, nope, you look ridiculous. Size down.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's really helpful. I mean,
buying things that you could grow into. If you had one burger too much, you just like, you know, I need some wiggle room. You feel like, you know, you buy your clothes thinking that you need a buffer because you know that you go up and down so much. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I used to do.
It's still stuck in my head. It's not, I cognitively know this. I know that there will always be help. I know that I'll be fine, but I still have in my head to not invest in quality clothing because I might outgrow it. You know, I mean, it's stupid because it's still not, I mean, because I went from September to August and I was at maintenance. And so my brain has not fully caught up with it all yet. And I'm still working on it. And I'm just like, there's always going to be help now. I know this. There will be a way, but it just takes time.
I think that we have, and Brian, I know you said it's an overused word, but it is in fact trauma. I think that we have a lot of trauma when it comes to our bodies, having going up and down and that experience that comes with that, you know, the shame and the guilt and all of the other factors that are wrapped up in that, you know. So I know that a lot of people will hang on to clothes because inevitably we always got back up to them, right? Inevitably. So I don't know what part. I think I was shy of 1 year when I was like, that's enough. Like, it's time to let the past go. We are not going back. We're not going back. Like, and in my mind, logically, I understand that now there's help. Like, now that there is a path forward towards success. So, and that's when because I struggled so bad with obesity, I had from, I think it was like extra large to 4X every single season for every single size. So I had clothes everywhere, right? So I had clothes everywhere.
All in florals. All in florals.
Yeah. So help you God if you ever see me in a floral shirt. I can't do it. I can't do it again. But
Corey,
it's been interesting. It's been interesting trying to find my Sabrina.
Corey, you brought up something that just triggered a thought in me. I have the same thing. Like, and I know it's stupid and I just can't like commit to it because I can't buy anything that is good quality, expensive clothes. I mean, I can financially, but I can't mentally.
Right. No,
I just can't. I go to it and I'm like, no, because I'm only going to wear it right now. And then I'm probably going to gain it back. And it's this perpetual like martyrdom that I do to myself and my brain. Like, nope, don't invest in that. It's a waste of money. And that is one thing I have not even near overcome.
Yeah. It's going to take time, right? Like, this is like a lifetime of this. It's going to take time. And I think talking about it and having discussions I know for me, it's healing.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Because we spent so much time obese and in that mindset that we were in. And for most of us, we've been on this healthy journey for 2 years or less. So it's not going to, it takes a lot of work to kind of deconstruct that thinking. So it's not like a switch that you flip. And it's on a continuum, because it's like, just because you're having a good day today, I might need y'all to remind me of this next week. Like, so it's not, even once you get to that point, there's going to be something that potentially triggers you. There's going to be something that, you know, you go to do something and it reminds you, and then that old stinking thinking comes back and you have to catch yourself. So
the thing for me that triggers fear about clothing sizes is actually recently been thinking about the fact that in the past with things like that, it was not trusting myself, like that I was going to be able to sustain.
Yep.
And now it's not about me, it's external factors now that scare me. It's what if I lose access to the medication? Like now it's not about, can I trust myself anymore? Am I going to be able to sustain this? It's, I have everything I need to sustain it, but the entire outside world seems to be conspiring to make that feel insecure. And that is what has been making me uncomfortable about it, is that, like, we see the landscape with insurance coverage, we see the landscape with compound medication, we see that there seem to be a lot of forces out there that are making this less and less within reach for a lot of people. And I feel like this is the quiet part out loud a little bit, so I apologize if I'm going there with it, but that's the thing that gives me anxiety about things like getting rid of clothing. Is it's I know I can do this now, but is the rest of the world going to take away this thing that has given me the tool that I need to be successful? And am I prepared for how to manage it without that tool? And right now I don't feel prepared to manage it without the tool. And so that's, I still purged, I still took the leap, I still got rid of things because I felt like it was putting it out into the world, manifesting the safety and security through that act of, you know, leap of faith there. But at the same time, in the back of my mind, that's the thing that scares me and actually is the most destructive to the positives, right? That's the one wrinkle for me, is that I'm dependent, I hate to use that word, but dependent upon this tool that has been made as difficult as possible to get continuous access to for a lot of people. So
I agree with that. I think that I have learned to trust myself on this. And of course, access is everyone's biggest insecurity, I feel like. But I also know that I will not go without it. And so no matter what that looks like. So if that looks like me getting 3 jobs, then that's what that's going to look like, because I will not go without it.
Same.
I've already started looking for another job to kind of prepare because of the state of my employment and the EOs coming out. So I've already started putting in applications everywhere because I am scared.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that part makes me so angry that anybody needs to be in that position with medication, that anybody needs to be scared or planning for second and third employment sources or stacking the boxes in the vials out of fear. You know, there was a conversation on TikTok last week about changing attitudes about research grade peptides, which we know is a third rail for a lot of us personally. But there's, because there's a lot of fear about, like, what lengths will people feel like they need to go to in order to continue to access medication. And it just makes me so angry that we have to even have that conversation at all.
Right.
Yeah, when I did the compound for Zepbound before Zepbound was available, I kind of thought this is like research grade stuff, and it wasn't. I didn't understand what it was, but I was like, I don't think I care. I'm going to do it anyway. And people will do it.
I try to keep myself positive on it because I have had insurance companies try to pull it from me despite having type 2 diabetes. And, the landscape right now over the next 10 years is crazy for what's coming and how quickly there's going to be so many options and what's going on with Medicare coverage now and all of that. And so I try to, because it's uncertain in this, it's crazy to be in such a profit-driven world around these medications. But there seems to be a lot of reason to be hopeful that we're not going to lose full access. If we do, it's going to be for a short window of time. Because I mean, 1 in 6 Americans have now tried these medications. There'll be an uprising if access goes away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're just in the center of it right now, in the beginning of all of that. And one day we'll be able to look back, and so many people who have advocated for us for this will be able to be like, well, kind of all helped to make it happen, you know, and now it is accessible. Like, this will be accessible eventually, but we're just in the beginning thick of it right now.
I try to compare it to penicillin. A lot of people always compare this to like the penicillin, you know, revolution. And when it started, no one wanted to take it. They thought it was poison. You know, they thought that it was just better to deal with whatever infection you had because the treatment was going to be worse. And anybody can get any amoxicillin augmentin for like $3 at any CVS with zero insurance. So I completely have hope in what you're saying, Corey. I think that it will be very accessible. There's a lot of good things coming down the pipeline. We just got that sleep apnea approval. I know that there is an approval coming soon, you know, probably with diabetes and, you know, prevention of diabetes and just so many things that we know, all of us know are in the works. And I think that's just going to open the doors more because people who are just in a bigger position are going to be like, wow, this is actually proven. Here's the evidence base. And a lot of people stick to this FDA approval. Personally, I'm not big on it, but a lot of people are very big on the FDA approval for things. And I know that when those things start coming down, I think that's going to be the trigger that's going to.
And the other impetus is the data starting to show that this is going to increase the workforce, right? The amount of people that are going to come back into the workforce as a result of this is going to be seen. You know, if money makes the world go round, that's what's going to help push this along.
Great point.
Agreed. I was ready to file for disability, and between this and being able to work from home, but with the state of my job, I'm gonna have to probably go back to the office full time. But I'm okay. I can do it now,
Right?
Because I'm not disabled anymore. All because of Zepbound.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, and that's why I get passionate about it in the way I do, about getting frustrated about access issues and costs and all of that stuff, because it's literally brought people back from the brink. We talk a lot about, I mean, we talk about all of it among this group. We talk about the weight and appearance and mental health sides of it and the health sides of it. But there are a lot of people who have literally been brought back from the brink of permanent disability or even death. And that part gets overlooked because this is so hyped as weight loss medication, right? And the media keeps doing it. And you know, some folks within our own communities perpetuate it, you know, perhaps unintentionally, but by focusing on it. But like that's I always get frustrated about that giving cover to people who minimize it, right? Is if we're focusing on it as quote unquote weight loss medication, it gives cover to people who want to make excuses for why it's a nice to have and not a need to have. And so that's why I get really passionate about the access issues, because like I said at the beginning, like I had a doctor look at me like, okay, you're basically going to have a stroke. Like it's going to happen because we can't treat your blood pressure. Like nothing's changing it. So if you don't do this, and if this doesn't work, like you're going to have surgery. We have to figure out what to do for you because you're going to have a stroke. And that was very scary to hear. And yet the insurance company treated it like, well, this is weight loss medication, so prove that he needs it. You know, because my A1C wasn't high enough long enough,
Right.
you know, and that it's like, oh, okay, so get sicker.
Exactly. Exactly. Brian, that's what kind of is a crawl in my side, because it's like, you know, it's almost like sometimes when people say they make too much money to get help, but they don't make enough money to pay their bills. I feel like you're in that, like, you know, weird space where they want you to get sicker. But, you know, like they say, the money is in the sickness and not the cure. Because why not just give you this one medication? You can get off of all these other ones. You lower the chances that you're going to have a heart attack or stroke, be hospitalized, and all of these other things. That's where all of the money is. It's not in just paying for this one prescription every day. I mean, every month.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
We cost insurance companies less when we're dead.
That's absolutely it.
Yeah,
that's terrible.
It's true.
They just feel like that if they can wait us out.
And they also feel like, and that's one of the reasons why it's so important to have someone that can advocate for you. Because if a lot of times insurance companies, they just do a blanket no, and they figure that somebody who does not advocate for themselves, they're not going to fight back. They're not going to ask for a peer-to-peer. They're not going to ask for appeal. They're not going to ask for any of this stuff. They're just going to go away and just be like, oh, they don't cover it. And then they're like, cool, you know?
Yeah. Because I was diagnosed and they were like, no, denial, appeal. I was like, oh no.
Coming back.
I'm not the one. And today's not the day.
Like the little weeble wobbles, it wobbles, but it don't fall down. You like,
no.
I just put in my fourth appeal for a tier exception request. And I just realized, because they keep giving me the same blanket statement. Oh, you have to have a failed treatment from their list, which were all stimulants. I have POTS. I can't take stimulants.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that until the fourth time around. I got to my provider on Rome, like, hey, can we try this again? Because, you know, that they're just sticking to this one thing. Oh, you got to try phentermine. I tried it, and it nearly killed me.
I commend all of you that have fought the good fight with the insurances, because I personally think I would have given up. So a lot of people say, like, I've heard people that use brand and tell people that use compound, like, wow, you guys are, you know, you get whatever you need to and you do it. And I think it's the other way around. Like, I commend you all because I have seen a lot of people's battles and fights. Brian, you posted a lot about yours. And just so many people that have had their battles. And honestly, I would have tapped out. I would have tapped out and I would have been like, all right, you win. And I really commend that, because I couldn't have done it.
I think that's what's so strong about this community, though, because all you have to do is say, you know what, I'm having an issue with my insurance company, and I can guarantee you there's going to be some people like, this is what you need to do. This is the code that you get. You know?
That's exactly what happened with me and how I helped to get access for other family members and friends. And I got all the information from TikTok, every bit of it.
Absolutely.
And I wrote it down. I typed it out, sent it to them, looked up their insurance for it. Here you go. Do this, do this. And they got it.
Right. I mean, then that's the thing about the community, that the information sharing is so much more than just, here's how to manage side effects. Helpful as that is, it can literally be the difference between somebody giving up and going home and somebody getting connected to the right, to Erica's point, advocate who can help them to actually get access to the medication. And that's wildly powerful if you think about it. I mean, as a community, we are managing to strong arm insurance companies that are trying to save money and make profit off of denials. And like, literally, people on this screen right now spend hours helping other people figure out how to overcome that issue. And that's kind of goes unsaid sometimes, but that's actually pretty powerful. And it's pretty powerful that there are people who are even guiding people to, if that doesn't work, then here's your compound option. I didn't know that compound medication was a thing beyond when my child needed a liquid medication that was only available in a pill form.
Right.
I didn't even know that that was a thing until I stumbled onto social media and TikTok and YouTube and elsewhere, and people were talking about it. And now I have friends who got denials from their insurance and gave up, but now have medication. Because not because I'm some brilliant genius, but because somebody else told somebody else told somebody else, and I heard it. And that's kind of amazing, and I think that part needs to be sort of recognized, because the little like fight the power freedom fighter in me gets really jazzed up about thinking about how frustrated I get with all of these unnecessary hurdles that are in the way of people taking back their health, and how we have created this network that is guiding people to the information they need to advocate for themselves. That's huge. I think we should celebrate that a little bit more. We're kind of doing it all, folks.
We do. I think we do.
I think we do.
Yeah. I certainly went to my doctor, my previous doctor, not the one that I'm with now, and said, well, Candace on TikTok said.
They hate hearing that.
Literally went to her doctor and said, well, Candace said this, and her doctor was like, who is Candace?
That's not what Candace said. So
well, Candace said.
My primary care goes nuts because I'm constantly coming in with, so this is what the doctors on TikTok say. And by the way, I picked up 2 doctors from TikTok as people who I see, and they're like, what is it with you and TikTok and doctors? I'm like, the good ones are there.
Listen, teaching the doctors and the nurses, because I love our TikTok nurses, especially our friend Tati right here. But I love our TikTok nurses.
Don't worry, I tell my doctor, oh well, Sabrina said. Really? And I tell myself all the time, like I'll go into something and then I'll listen to someone. I'm like, wait a minute. Oh my God, I didn't know that. We all learn from each other.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that I had already done step therapy by the time I asked for Zepbound. Like I had done Contrave. I had done Phentermine many times over. I had done Wegovy. And so by the time I got to Zepbound, they kind of easily did it for me.
Okay. That's good.
Because they wouldn't have, because I know that how it works with my insurance, I would have had to try those other things first. But I already had as soon as they were available back then. I'm like, sign me up.
Because we've tried everything, right? We've tried everything. Everyone's like, oh, well, you just need to work out. And baby, like we haven't been doing that our entire life.
I did that one. I was telling Dave the first time when I was on the pen, I did the one, and it was through insurance, and it was the whole thing. It's this pill that you take, and it like expands in your stomach, kind of like a diaper. You know how they get wet, but it, like I told Dave, it doesn't kill you. And that was miserable. Like your stomach is just so tight all the time.
It's miserable.
It's miserable. It's miserable. So I did it all through insurance. I did it all.
Well, I did the 1 meal a day, which was
all of the diets.
That's horrendous.
It was horrendous.
Horrible.
I ended up with terrible gastritis, like erosive gastritis. Who eats once a day? If anybody here eats once a day, you need to eat more.
Oh no!
Some people do it.
They'll get in trouble here. They'll get in trouble with this community if they're
I'm coming for you. I will come for you.
It was awful. I was like, this. I will do whatever. I will do whatever to lose it. And I was like, you know what? I think I did it twice. And I'm like, 2 days. I'm like, I can't do this. Who am I kidding?
Yeah.
Well, and the irony is all of the diets that people do in desperation actually do more damage to their metabolism over time than anything else. I mean, I had doctors telling me, singing the praises of ketogenic diets for years, and do Atkins, do keto, do carnivore, because you obviously have, metabolic issues, and that's the only thing that's going to heal it. Except that just destroyed my metabolism. I mean, being in ketosis on and off for 20 years is not a good idea. It's not good for your body. Gee, I wonder why I had non-alcoholic fatty liver disease and kidney dysfunction by the time I was 43. Because of all of the things that we do, because people keep saying to us, well, just do all the things.
Let's try this. Let's try that.
Right? Try all the things, because what you're doing isn't working.
Intermittent fasting is actually negative for women with their hormones.
Yes.
I didn't even know that until the last couple of years. I was like, oh, I've tried that so many times.
Yeah. What's maddening is the science has known this for over a decade, and they've continued to not tell us that. And then, frankly, they weren't trained in it, right? And that's the problem. Yeah. But they can do more harm than good with outdated information.
Right.
Ooh, the master cleanse. Yeah, I did that one too, Corinne, in Focus. Yeah. You know, one of the things that is a sad state of affairs is I've actually had people say that in order to game the system, basically to bypass the insurance company, their doctor would write a prescription and they would just say, fill it and don't take it. Wait 30 days. And I'm like, that's terrible that people are actually doing that.
That's desperation.
Or feel that they have to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
I was going to do that with Phentermine just so they would leave me alone, even though I can't take it with my, POTS disorder. That was going to be my next. It might be my next step if they, give me the same letter again.
And who took Fen-Phen back in 1996?
You might be entitled to compensation.
I know. I went to a thing like 20 years ago when they were asking about that, and they tested my heart and did all kinds of stuff. And I was fine, thankfully. But
that was
does
the last time
anybody remember Xenical? It was the one Xenical. It was one of those that if you ate anything that was greasy, fatty, or whatever, it was going to be a problem.
Oh, the oral
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Oh, the Orlistat.
Yes.
How about the Anna Nicole one, the hydroxy something?
Oh, I used to take Hydroxycut. I used to take Hydroxycut with a thermogenic.
Oh, God.
With a thermogenic.
I'm so glad we're all still here.
Yeah, no, honestly.
How did we make it?
And I did that for years.
Green tea fat burner, mega fat burner.
Yep.
Right.
Liver
Just standing there, pouring sweat, just standing.
Body's just working overtime. Just
You're like, well, at least I know I'm burning something.
Right. I did this one thing one time when I was like maybe 20, when I had just really started gaining weight because of my cheerleading accident and all the cortisol and all the steroids I had to take and whatever. And it's this box that they put you in, and it like goes up to here and it fills up with steam, and it just like overheats you and it's supposed to make you like lose weight. Like I did that for a little while. I'm like,
we have tortured our bodies.
Stupid things.
Yeah. But now that's why I'm extra nice, because I, for the longest time, treated it so poorly. And I was I hate to say this, but I hated my body. And I am now solely focused on healing all aspects of my life, so I didn't realize how late it was while we've been kind of chatting. So we've only got a couple of minutes left, but I wanted to, do you guys have closing thoughts? Just a real quick closing thought. And then,
this is fun. I really enjoyed you all. I always enjoy the Friday panels, but this was a new thing. And it was really enjoyable.
Yeah. Thank you, Sabrina.
Yes.
Thank you for being willing to do this. We know it's a lot. And to go to another platform with people we don't know who they are that are listening to us, and what we know it's a lot. So thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Dave,
for saving something that for us has become, the Friday Night Lives, I've said this a million times, have changed my life. and saving something that I consider an important institution. I just appreciate Dave so much, and you, Sabrina, for your willingness to be here and to open us up to new audiences, which is great.
Yeah,
For sure.
Yeah, this platform has been really important for talking about all of it, and not, you know, to not have any limited topics, to not have anything be unsafe. Everything is welcome in this conversation. Sabrina, thank you for that, because you do keep this as an open platform, and all thoughts are valid, and bring us to really interesting conversations all the time. And on this platform, I'm especially appreciative of the chat. I think, you know, everybody added so much to it, and it felt like while we were up on the panel, everybody in the chat was really an active participant in the conversation too. And I think that dynamic is really nice. And so it's been lovely to be in this platform with some new people, and everything that they've added to our discussion, I think, has been really valuable.
Yeah, I agree.
I appreciate you bringing me on. This is so much fun. Definitely needed some healing energy from these past few weeks. This has been amazing. I might go ugly cry in the other room. Tears of joy.
Well,
I have new besties now.
We have a running joke on the GLP-1s that are on TikTok, is that the middle square always cries.
Always.
There's a lot of all emotion coming through.
Yeah.
I just want to say again, everybody said it, but thank you, Sabrina. You are a pillar in the TikTok community, and the people in YouTube may not know you yet, but you keep a lot of us afloat daily. And I want you to embrace that and take this panel to new heights, like only you can. And everybody else on this panel, also thank you for sharing it with me. These have become my Friday night therapies. And every time Brian is here, I get even more therapy. But you guys have all made this journey very special to me, and I love you guys.
Love you too.
I'm gonna give one plug for On the Pen. Thursday nights for everybody who's listening from all sorts of different places. Dave is amazing, so educational. He advocates so much. He's now sponsoring this with Sabrina for Beyond the Scale. I do Maintenance Minute for people who are in maintenance. And then we've got Allie who does Reddit recap. So it's really well-rounded. And he's always looking to bring more community members. So please take part in Thursday nights as well.
The OTP Thursday nights are my favorite. It's just it's a different dynamic. And I absolutely love the OTP community. I really, truly do. And I feel honored that we had an opportunity to bring a little slice of what we do to this platform, which is just, my mind is blown. It's just been such a huge part of my journey. And so my, you guys, for whoever's on the panel, will you just drop in the, where can people find you? Drop your handles and stuff like that. So
our names are on here.
Yep. And it's also, the handles are also on.
I'm not signed into my YouTube, so I can't comment on there because I had to, because I'm on a Mac, I had to go on Chrome. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm here.
Panicking.
Okay, so my closing thoughts for the evening is for everyone. Obviously, time and treatment for this medication for people who are just starting out. I want you guys to trust yourself, trust this medicine. Someone, I can't remember who said it, but it had a profound impact on me. It was in one of the lives, and they said, you can't hate yourself healthy.
Sounds like Jay.
Probably. It was probably
That does sound like Jay.
You can't hate yourself healthy. And that hit me like a ton of bricks because I had been operating that way for so long.
Mhm.
So I'm going to ask that you find your love and your grace and your kindness and show yourself some of that. Show yourself some of that. So I want to thank you guys. Thank the panel. You guys have been incredible. And I love, 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 love you for taking the time and sharing your thoughts, your voices, and your time with the panel, with everyone. I deeply, deeply appreciate your voice and what you guys do for this community. I thank Dave on the pen, the OTP community, and I thank everyone in the chat. Thank you guys so much for coming through. I love you guys, and I hope to see you guys soon. Join us the next time we do this.
Are you guys going to Atlanta?
Yes.
Yes, Atlanta?
Yeah, Atlanta.
Right.
There's a meetup.
Okay.
There's a meetup June 20th and 21st. But I thank all of you. So
Thank you.
Thank you, Sabrina.
you're welcome. Have a good night, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.